So, good evening, everybody. We'll start the meeting. Welcome on to tonight's Scrutiny meeting. We have an extra councillor. We haven't seen you before at Scrutiny, Councillor Robertson. Thank you very much for attending. Councillor Carter. We've seen you here before. Councillor Paul, we're fairly familiar with you on this committee.
Well, the brown envelope, I can say, was in the usual place, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a member of the public, who I can see at the back of the room. Welcome on. And we have Councillor James. Good.
Somewhere down the list.
And along management team. And Councillor, nice you to join us. Yes, I hope so. Yeah, this is Scrutiny. You are a member of Scrutiny. Right. So the first job, now we've done that, is to sign the previous minutes. There's a couple of points on here I have personally. On page 6 at the top it says not including in the commentary. I think that's probably not included. And just a bit further down I think it's there. That's just so we're absolutely clear. There's also one other point I'd make on E, but does anybody have any other comments on the minutes? No, I'd like to point out E on page 7. There is a comment here from the last meeting from Councillor Randall about the planning committee. You weren't at last week's planning committee, Councillor Randall, I don't think, but I did observe a large number of people, particularly I think with respect to one of the applications, and I also left before the end and I could see a lot of free movement in that door, with one of our staff actually hosting that door as well, so it seemed to be running smoothly as recently as last week as well, so thank you Tony as well for extra work you've done. Other than that, are we all happy to say that that's an accurate set of minutes? Very good, thank you. So, tonight we have an apologies for absence from Councillor Criggan. He messaged me earlier to say unfortunately he couldn't attend this evening. So let's go on to the third item, declaration of members' interests. No, none to be disclosed. Number 4 is Councillor Paul.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman. It's just that I'm expecting a text message. If it does come through, Mr. Wilson and I may have to leave. We don't not until about 8 o'clock-ish. The other thing I did note, Chairman, was on page 6 where Councillor Randall noted...
Is this the minutes?
Oh, we've not
done that. We've been there and done it.
Sorry. I haven't called that with you.
That's okay, that was the first agenda item, Councillor Paul. We've been there and done that, we're now to the third one. In fact, if you haven't got any issues to raise interest, then we're on number 4. But before we do, of course, scrutiny is not political. We're all meant to be objective and look at things with an objective viewpoint.
Certainly not political, Chairman. It was a mere fact that Councillor Randall asked for figures, and I assumed incorrectly that they would be passed on to members for transparency.
Yeah, Councillor Paul, sorry. It's not. I wasn't saying your point was political. Stop being mischievous. You know what you are. Right. We should have Julie. Are you doing signing?
I am, Chairman. On the grounds that since I was intending to support Councillor James anyway, we thought we would be more efficient so that we'll deal with the strategic plan as well.
Very good, thank you. Now, for those members and members of the public that are unfamiliar with modus operandi, nearly every meeting, to coincide with the performance figures, we are presented this corporate plan information. And in the corporate plan, basically, we've got a track since 2013-14 year, and the representative from the management team, today Simon, will be actually walking us through. And what we do is we look at the items that are amber or green, red, That doesn't mean you can't look at issues which are green and raise a question, but for the sake of brevity and making sure we're focused, we basically focus on those issues which are red or amber. It's also really important to note that the way each one of these has an indicator number. So for those of you who are back in front of you on page 11, you can see B1.1, 1.2, etc. When we actually go a bit further on and we actually start looking at performance issues, we actually focus on it by indicator number. In most cases, that's what we've been doing the last couple of meetings, in particular to focus us. And the purpose of looking at this document is because scrutiny is about performance, and by looking at this helps us understand if anything requires particular scrutiny. That's for the members who are not familiar with this, or members of the public. So, without further ado, I will pass you over to Simon, who will talk us through the red or amber indicators. But please stop me if there's a question on the page. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Chairman. What I would normally do, I think Julie as a doctor's of practice as well, is highlight where they're red or amber and there's a change. There'll be a little point in detailing the committee on things which are unchanged. With that in mind, page 1, obviously there's an item which is red, which you're well aware of it has not changed. We'll propose to comment further unless the committee wishes to explore it.
Excellent.
Okay, page 2, 2 green indicators. Page 3, 2 green indicators.
This is page 13 in the pack.
My apologies. Yeah, page 13, 2 green indicators. Page 14.
Yep.
Just going back to page 12, on the UTC one, we've got 600 spaces up to 15, 16, and then we go up to 915. Is that still going to be at that numbers going forward? Because obviously we know they haven't, they're not reaching target, so just wondered about that, that was all.
Yes, I recollect this conversation before. Simon, what's the answer?
I would give a very similar answer to what I did before, which is to say the council can't control where an education institution runs. What the role is in part is planning for the future of our area by providing or helping to make sure spaces are provided. Whether they're taken up is really something we can control.
Linked into that question actually, would the new school have a similar target for us going forward perhaps on an indicator?
The new school, the special school, is included in the target here.
Yeah. So that would basically add to that kind of figure anyway, potentially.
Indeed, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Kess, round up?
Yeah, going on to page 13, which is still on because I think we need to skip. I just wondered whether we were going to have a measure of the new public space protection order on there. And how it was going to be measured, that was all. Obviously, it was
Chairman, this is the council's corporate plan. We can't go sort of adding things to it part of the way through.
Do you look at going forward for next year? I just want to get to that.
The corporate plan is set for 3 years. We're in the middle of that 3-year period at the moment.
Okay.
If I move on to page 14 then, we have an amber indicator which is open from the text.
Sorry, before you do, could I page 12 again? I know we've had that conversation before, and obviously this indicator will change over a period of time. The capacity level there, I think has the narrative been updated since last time? I haven't got last one to hand actually.
When you say the narrative, are you...
We're talking about B2.2.
B2.2, yeah.
It may have been. It's a fairly static item until something changed.
Say the same to me.
I think it may be very modestly tweaked, but
Okay, so very similar, but draw members' attention to the fact there's a slight change because of obviously the growth in establishments. But the target's still in there. That's the target capacity basically.
exactly.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Sam. Please jump on then.
Okay, page 14, so there's an amber indicator, the E1.1 which members are familiar with. We're exploring what can be done to bring us fully into target there. The works that the legislature may be sufficient, we're not sure yet. And there is a red indicator which again members are very familiar with, which is the waste to landfill. And we've said many times we don't expect that target to be met.
Thank you. Quick question from you, Councillor. Please note, I don't want to spend too long on this particular topic because of nascent events, but Councillor.
No, I just wondered about that. Do we get copies of the dockets because we have, I think, 4 lorries go out for recycling every day, 4 lorries go to landfills. Obviously, we'll have 4 of each dockets. Just wonder whether we get copies of those dockets, because it seems lately that more recycling lorries are going to landfill. And obviously, if we're looking forward at a new contractor coming in, we want to try and give them as accurate records as possible with recycling. If some of that's going to landfill, it's not going to be a true record.
What's the docket?
Well, you like when you go to Weybridge.
No, that's the catch on what?
When you go into Weybridge, when you have your lorry weighed in, you
Yes.
get a docket to say what your tonnage was and whatever. So I assume that you'd have 1 for landfill, 1 for recycling, so you would actually be able to look at those dockets and know whether the amount of lorries that were supposed to be going to landfill were, and the same for recycling, because there seems more and more reports coming through that actually that recycling lorries are going off to landfill.
Simon?
We have an auditing arrangement to make sure the data is accurate. The County Council also audits because they pay us recycling credits on the basis of the recycling we collect, and we retain for recycling. They certainly don't want to pay us £45 a tonne for recycling that we haven't done. So yes, there is an auditing arrangement in place. We're confident in those numbers. That's really what I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Paul.
I'm not confident of the amount of recyclates that are coming out of the household waste recycling centres. My experience seems to be that too much of what is there is going into landfill, and it could have gone in other places. Just a comment on that.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Simon, please regress.
Progress, certainly. Page 15. There is no data for this year yet on 3.1 because the survey has not been carried out to my satisfaction. I'm questioning whether it will be carried out. It makes a little difference. Will be deducted a maximum possible and perform the penalty for having failed to carry out the survey. So the result is the same as if they had a bad result.
Councillor Rundle.
Yeah, I just wondered if we just got to put up with that for the end of the contract, or the deductions we made, is there any way that they can be used back? Because I seem to remember right in the very beginning, quite early on, there was something that we could almost use the deductions to put right their failings, because otherwise the rest of all the public are left to suffer.
Simon, I think we have a definitive answer on this.
Yeah. The simple approach is that the contractor is obliged to provide the service. If the council goes in and starts providing it, we relieve them of their obligation under the contract. So no, we don't, never have gone in and tried to mess with what the contractor is responsible for doing. That would just confuse things absolutely. Of course, the district council and our taxpayers do benefit because that money is money that's deducted from the bill, isn't money that's spent, and is available to provide a whole range of services going forward.
Thank you. Next one, please, Simon.
Okay, 2 greens on the bottom of that page. Page 16. A red that again you are familiar with, E4.2. We now have the senior planning officer who post-progressed his work. I doubt we'll achieve the target of 11 by the end of the year, but we will achieve the 11, probably some more in the end, during 16-17. So while I regret that delay, the end result the council has sought will be achieved, and the reason for the delay is simply we could not get appropriate staff to carry out the work.
Simon, what do you expect the actual number to be by the end of this 2015? Do you think it'll finish on 0?
I think it will, yes. Simply because the stage we're acting to get the work organised.
It's too late now to actually to change that one for you. Okay, thank you. Please regress.
Okay, page 17, 2 green indicators.
And Simon, H1.1 actually has changed from amber to grey.
Tony, how would you comment on this?
Well, I would just say that we were behind target during the course of the year, but we've caught up now and actually achieved the target for the full year.
Already?
Yes.
Anybody got any questions on that? Councillor Howard, I didn't forget you were down there. I thought you might want to keep a low profile for the moment. Anything you want to add?
No. I haven't been to meetings with Tony, and we're aiming to get this done as quickly as possible. We have done.
Good. Well done, Councillor.
I'm sorry to go back to the waste thing, but just a question: if they underperform and we get money back because of that underperformance, I understand that.
Yeah.
But what happens to the underperformance? So if something's not collected, is it never collected? How is it money doesn't compensate for not having your rubbish collected? So if it's not collected and we're fining them for it, well, there's too much going to landfill. How do we stop them from doing it, or how do we make them get better?
Understood. If I may, Chairman.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Several issues there. Firstly, it isn't that the waste isn't being collected, it is being collected. There are two indicators against their failure. One is the amount of waste going to landfill. Now, they're always going to fail at that because in their tender they set a wholly unrealistic target. I have no idea what their bid team were doing, possibly taking some illegal substance to the point they were drafting the tender, because we cannot see how they possibly have met the target. So in a sense there is no great loss there because nobody else will have kept it up. Then there is the percentage indicator, which essentially flows from it. So in both cases they are suffering a performance deduction for failing to achieve the targets that they offered themselves as part of the tender process. So no member of the public here suffers. The county council suffers a little bit because they have to pay to dispose of residual waste, but they're only suffering against what otherwise could have been achieved. And actually, on this collection model, I'm not convinced a great deal more could be achieved.
Can I I was going to on the chairman. I want to perhaps correct you on one of the points. I mean, maybe it's not that they're on illegal substances. I don't think we're going to make that claim. But
that was
a bit of a throwaway comment. But I think the point is they were perhaps optimistic, particularly at the point in time and the mood around recycling and the value of recyclers and so on. But the other point is, I think, if nobody is being adversely, negatively impacted, perhaps there's not that clamour from the public unless you're a real recycling advocate. I think that's the reality of the situation. And I think for those of you that were at the workshop recently will all be aware that work is moving forward. And obviously matters will be discussed at strategy this week. So in terms of scrutiny questions on that particular performance level at this point in time, I don't want to take any more. So I think we're starting to move out of this really being valuable for scrutiny at the moment because it's moved on. But let's thank you for the question anyway, Councillor Brenton. Let's back on to you, Simon.
Where was I? I think probably page 18, wasn't it?
Yes, Your Honour.
Okay, one green. Red indicator, which is the supporting elderly and vulnerable residents, that's H2.2, and that essentially is a demand-driven indicator. There's been quite a lot of publicity work put in to encourage people to take up the grants that the council offers and the support services that the council offers. If the demand isn't there at the end of the day, there's little more that can be done, and one might even argue it's a good thing if it maybe means we've met much of the needs out there.
So I found this one very interesting because we had this at our last scrutiny meeting with the care and repair presentation, and quite a sophisticated campaign to drive awareness.
Yep.
Do you think we will see this movement at least to amber, or do you think perhaps it's the latent demand which means we're not going to achieve that particular target, and the target may be offbeat, particularly if you look at towards the end of the year, the target obviously goes up because it's cumulative?
Absolutely. I would be very surprised. I mean, Maria isn't here to comment on those member of the team, but just looking at those numbers, it must be at least a third off. So to get back to amber territory, most unlikely, I thought.
But we'll have another run at that next year, particularly with campaign being out there now. Councillor Frenchman.
Isn't it almost impossible to meet a target that's demand-led? I just wonder at the validity of it as a target, because if there's only one person that needs something, and we've got a target of 300, it's not you failed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you could argue if you don't have any idea in mind at all, then you've got nothing to benchmark yourself in. And that's how we said, well, look, last time there is an underwhelming demand compared to our targets. We need to do something to stimulate the awareness. But actually, maybe after a couple of years, you would say perhaps there really isn't that level of demand for it, and we'll look at it again. Valid point.
I think they've, if I may, Chairman, I think they've made significant progress with the awareness in and around the district. I think they should be congratulated for caring with that.
Well, the question is, have they made significant progress? How do you know?
How do you measure it? Well, you measure it by the feedback from word of mouth, from people that said, oh, I didn't appreciate that you did this, etc., etc. Unfortunately, that type of feedback can't be documented. You know, I met 3 people who said, oh, I didn't know all of that. It is a feeling of the feedback from various residents who are quick to put a knife in when you're not doing something. Very rarely do they turn around and praise you when you are doing something good. So to get the feedback that, oh, I didn't appreciate that you do that, and I will tell my cousin's brother's auntie, you know, to me is good feedback.
Very good. Let's go. Councillor Howard, do you have any comments to make on this? Because a lot of it's awareness driven as a campaign. 2.2 for clarity.
No, not really.
Nothing to add? No. Councillor Randall, you've always got your ear to the ground over here, the jingle jangle from the residents. What?
Yeah, I
what
have
do you get on this one?
actually. It just, you know, looking back at the previous year's figures, obviously they're quite different. You know, 14-15 are quite different to 15-16. You know, and I just wondered how it works now with, you know, if people are in private rental, whose responsibility there is, because there seems to be a lot of people don't understand who's responsible for what. So is it their private landlord that's supposed to be? Can the private landlord still come to the council because it is their property, but they've got an elderly person perhaps renting it? You know, how does all that bit work? So sometimes, you know, and obviously we've done a lot of promotion on the website, but I assume that there's literature still, because I know they were printing some literature up, so whether it's gone out to aged concern, different people like that, because they're the ones that link more into, you know, the elderly clients. I know they're not all elderly clients, but a lot of them are that want home adoption, so just wondered if that literature's gone out now. And
well, we did say we'd revisit this one anyway if we didn't see an uptick in performance. Tony?
Yeah, just a point really in Councillor Howard's defence, not that he needs defending, but it's not his portfolio area.
No, fair enough, but I was asking in terms of about communication,
right, well,
and about kind of feedback, generally speaking.
Right, I think in terms of the comms area, I can advise that there is a communications plan that we talked about at the last meeting, and I understand that is progressing well. Probably is part of the feedback that Councillor Brown is picking up.
Very good, okay, so we'll keep a watch on those numbers, and because obviously the last meeting we were going to launch a piece of work which Councillor Randall was going to lead, but then we decided not to after the presentation. Okay, let's move on.
What did come out of the presentations, etc., that I personally wasn't aware of, maybe because I'm a bad councillor, however, that care and repair is available to homeowners of limited means, or alternatively homeowners could talk to care and repair and ask them to do various projects at an advantageous fee, shall we say.
So the lesson there, Councillor Paul, is that all of us as councillors have a responsibility to communicate this as well, having our conversations as well, particularly if we're on the doorsteps campaigning as the season approaches. Thank you. Over to you again, actually, Simon.
Okay, page 19. 2 indicators here, one green, one red. We are cautiously optimistic that both green when the data is collected at the end of this year.
Okay. Cautiously optimistic.
Simply because there is a process of literally going and counting completed houses and whether they're affordable or not to get to data. But currently, based on the 3 quarters thus far of major sites, it's looking as though we will affect targets.
Very good. Councillor Carter, you have a question? Comment?
Just to add, there is an affordable housing meeting coming up shortly, where there'll be a status report on all these developments.
Very good.
But one thing I would like to ask, of course, is that the thing that's being trumpeted now is that we have met our target in the rural areas. So I don't know where we go from there, because it sends a message out to everybody that we're not going to build anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if that's a good point, but I'm not sure if you want to go into any more detail on that particular one. Might leave that one for another committee.
The affordable housing.
But we're only looking at the indicator.
I think the sad part about the indicator, Chairman, if I may, is that whilst Councillor Carter is correct, you will see a number of developments there, and as Vice Chair of Planning, a number of developments go through, and no registered social landlord is attached to those developments. So whilst we have passed and approved various developments, if we take Micklewell for instance, that hasn't come to fruition, that added amount of affordable housing. That's a little bit of a problem with that indicator. However,
If I may, just to clarify, there seems to have been consent granted to the council report by the observers, and that which is built. This is a measure of what's actually built.
actual. Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Because actually the critical word there in 3.2 is delivered. Very good. Onwards.
Page 20, all green, nothing to add. Page 21, ditto. And page 22, same price.
Very good. Any final questions on those last ones, anybody?
It's that time of year when everything turns green.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Paul, for that additional comment. It'd be nice to see things green. I mean, that's how we want things to be. We can take pride in being green anyway. Now, those earlier indicators is what we're going to return to shortly with our presentation. But first of all, thank you very much for those, Simon. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from Councillor David James. Now, everybody who's a regular at these, obviously committee members themselves, know that we have, over the last year or so, adopted an approach where we have a portfolio ordering. Hopefully at every meeting, that's our intention. Councillor Howard actually scheduled for the next meeting. We'll agree that later on, so it's good to see you here actually. And what we're looking to do is, rather always than launching a particular piece of work, which can take quite some time, is particularly those questions arising from the assessment gives us the opportunity in the public domain to speak to the portfolio order. So the way we run this is the portfolio order will begin by giving a presentation. I've asked Councillor James to, from our last meeting, look at particular indicators relevant to here, plus give us a flavour of what's happening. Particularly about some of those work pieces that we have on at the moment, so rural economic development. And also one of Councillor Randall's that's coming up is empty commercial property. So what I would like for you to do, if you don't mind, Councillor James, I don't mind if you sit or stand, but it's really important that you make yourself heard. So normally beautifully spoken, softly and all, but we want to hear you. And because we have a member of the public at the back as well, I'm sure the member of the public would also like to hear you in a transparent fashion. So over to you, take the time, and I think the best way to do it, are you happy to take questions as we go, or do you want those at the end?
Which do you prefer?
I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll keep them as you go, but if it gets a bit too stupid, I will curtail them to the end.
Okay.
But, and again, through the chair to start with, please. And if we have a bit of a debate, we'll let it go, but let's see how we get on. Right, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Floor's yours.
First of all, I must say, my quiet spoken is not my natural, that's not really David James. It's a combination of old age and having lived in Aberdeen for so many years, where one's conversation can be heard 250 yards away. One learns to speak very softly. So it's a combination of those two.
I learned behaviour.
But in fact, I was...
You can speak loudly in Scrutiny because we need to make ourselves
have
heard.
a very athletic voice, and that was in my youth when I used to imitate before freshmen and all sorts of different voices, very loudly. But anyway, that's my excuse. I'll try very hard to make myself right.
And sorry, also for the sake of clarity, Simon, as his corresponding officer, may also help on any queries or questions. And obviously, it's a team effort. Yeah, but obviously the focus is on Councillor James.
Thank you. Right. First of all, then, slide number 1. I am the Economic Regeneration Employee Portfolio Holder, otherwise known as EA, and these are my portfolio responsibilities as published on the Council's website. Some of them are more central to the Council's mission than others. First of all, there's the Daventry Master Plan and the Daventry Town Centre Vision implementation, which is a task in its own right of some magnitude. Then economic development, asset management, including the council's own investment portfolio too, car parks, local transport initiatives, tourism, and promoting inward investment. So you can see it's a very, very wide brief. Next, the community strategy. You'll know all about this, but briefly I'll remind you of what the community strategy and corporate strategic plan is looking for. First of all, a key priority is economy, learning, skills and employment. And priority 2A is skills and learning. And we propose to support people to develop the skills they need to increase their employability. Clearly that's going to vary from one individual to the other. Some people have got very limited skills, some people have got very high skills, transferable skills, personal skills and so on, and need to go to an even higher level. It's our duty to support them. And this one I regard as very important. Raise the aspirations of young people. One of the things which really gets in my craw, it does, is how our children in Daventry district are, not intentionally, but unintentionally run down because we're always harping on about poor education and low education standards. And I think that's the wrong attitude because we don't know what's actual and what is perceived. So we need to raise the aspirations of young people to engender confidence so that they know not necessarily the sky's the limit or they're going to be the next David Beckham or Elton John or whatever it is, but they are going to achieve in the course of their life and they may make very young achievements.
Yep, happy to take with this. Councillor Fletcher first.
Thank you. Anne and I went to see the job centre manager, and she said that part of it's down to the high employment there is and the range of jobs available. The kids don't need aspirations because they can walk out of school into any job.
Well, that may well be the case.
So that's the problem.
Yes.
We need, what you said there is right, but I think there's more specific things we need to do to achieve that. And the first part, I think, is getting higher skilled jobs in the area.
Yes.
To which people can aspire to.
Yes.
Because at the moment, they can walk into a job as in a warehouse or a care home without too much trouble.
Yeah.
And while they're adequate jobs, fulfilling jobs, they've got no real earnings potential.
Yes. Well, it's our job to encourage them, to encourage employers to want to better their employees.
I think, Councillor, what I'd like to see is, as we progress through the presentation, I'd like to see some concrete evidence of initiatives that have been taken, particularly to meet these objectives. Councillor Randall.
Yeah, I just wondered what you're doing or how do you work with schools or colleges to raise the aspirations of young people?
Well, we do have a counsellor speaking time. Counsellors do go to schools, and generally school kids do take notice of older people. And so the words of wisdom they can impart, especially if they're a personable counsellor. I'm thinking of Alan Hills, who started the programme of going around schools. And engender that confidence amongst kids. I can do it. And then I've had the experience of teaching youths, teenagers, 18 plus. So I know how to deal with them. But it's engendering confidence. You'd be surprised. And I see a lot of good children in this district. Sometimes they're in jobs. And I think, that's a nice kid. And I hope, that their employers will give them an opportunity. Every dog has its day.
Councillor James, do you keep any data on those speaking engagements where you say, Councillor Hills goes and speaks? Yeah. Do you keep a record of those?
I don't.
Who does?
possibly Fiona.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Carter.
Following on from what Councillor James has just said, I'm part of that. It's usually in Democracy Week, but occasionally, and Fiona contacts all the schools, and if it fits in with their curriculum. This is the problem. We can't just walk into these things. We have to be invited, and if it's not part of their the set curriculum for that term, then they don't want to know. And we do have more of a success rate with the primary school level than the secondary school level. I found that going into the primary schools an absolute delight. They are very, very proactive.
Very good, thank you. I'll let you come. One quick question, okay.
Well, when you say raise the aspirations, I mean, we are not the education authority. However, I hasten to add, we have put a lot of pressure on various education authority, and I think it's come to fruition. We had an education event which David and I attended at the Icon, which was exceptionally beneficial. However, when schools outside of the town in particular are targeted or targeting our primary schools, it's very, very difficult, and consequently, and I think Councillor Randall would agree, the number of buses that leave Daventry to external schools, that's fine. They are getting a good education. However, we're almost teaching those children to be commuters. My grandchild gets up at 6 o'clock every morning to get the 7:45 bus to go to Southam.
So thank you, Councillor Paul. I'm going to stop you there. Let's go back to a technical question here. So on that particular one, Councillor James, how do you measure the aspiration of the young people, and how can you know if you've made a difference to it? Because that is our objective, so how do you measure that?
Well, one could measure the number of people, youngsters taking up apprenticeships, for example, but that's not a measure necessarily of aspiration. I suppose another measure would be the numbers taking various examinations, whether it be O levels, A levels, whatever it is. I suppose that is a measure.
There has to be some measure, doesn't there? It's a direct measure which is quite challenging, an approximate measure. What I would recommend, actually, as we're going through this, one moment, if you have a think about how you can measure these objectives, I think that'll be helpful too.
Chairman, if I may, these are community strategy indicators.
Yeah.
The community strategy has a portfolio of probably 40 performance measures attached to it. They do include take-up of apprenticeships, as Councillor James has mentioned. There's also a measure of exam performance, as well as a measure of school performance.
So these are indicators we could use
I think they're reasonable proxy measures for this measure.
Very good. Thank you, Simon. Carry on, please, Councillor James.
Priority 2B, development and regeneration to regenerate Daventry Town Centre. I think we all agree that's a very important task, because parts of the town centre are looking very tired. Support the development of a diverse range of businesses and jobs across the district. Well, clearly, the more diverse the range of businesses and jobs across the district, the more it's likely that we should need a diverse range of skills, ranging from very low skills to very high skills, actually. So that is important. So that one doesn't sort of fall into, well, what are the employment opportunities, what is retail shops and these warehouses up the road, so that there is some sort of high-level activity, whether it be in engineering, science or whatever. Then there's the corporate strategic plan, which has its themes: improve our business economy, learning and skills. And priority B1 there is to attract and facilitate a range of investments. Measure B11, commercial floor space with planning permission due to council action. excluding town centre retail and leisure. We do have a measure for that, a measure which we are in fact achieving.
Well, this is where actually members can look at their corporate plan
Yeah.
FP1.1, and that's third quarter 505 against 7505.
But that difference is last year. Yeah, 2,000 metres of new commercial floor space. Site 3, that is the target site there. The master plan for site 3 is being refused, it says here, and will have an element of commercial use within it, perhaps, a little bit of offices as well as restaurants and so on. Hotel, that type of thing. So, that target may or may not be met. But I would think when site 3 comes out, this is planning portion, not actually implementation.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Wesley.
Yeah, it's not actually on this slide, it is on the previous one. It sort of links into this. Just on the regeneration, same old sort of story really. Does regeneration mean bringing bringing new things into the town? Because to me it's a little bit like improving the things that we've already got, and it's that's regenerating various items. But I mean, just a clarification on that, and then how you see it. Really.
Yes, it is, because if we don't improve what we have and make improvements to it, and it is looking tired, even though the minister said that just today, looks very tired. It does need regenerating to keep up to snuff with the towns, that are accessible to people from the district. But it will include new stuff as well, stuff that hasn't been built on before.
Because of course, regeneration of new sometimes actually makes the old look even worse, doesn't it, as well? Although it's very, very nice.
I mean, we're looking at we are looking at in the centre, we've got conservation areas, so that's going to be holding well off for it.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
yes, I know what you mean.
There's old and there's regeneration of the old to make it look in the best condition that it possibly can.
That's right.
Thank you, Councillor Wesley. What's Councillor Jones linked to this, and obviously new developments? What's your assessment of the new developments in other towns nearby, such as Rugby or Banbury, and the impact that they've had on the retail scene? So take Rugby, for instance, with new development. I was aware that a very old retailers, Heafy's, closed down last week. Been trading over 100 years, I think, from that particular site for over 30 years. Various sites have closed down. Will that also have an impact on Daventry, and how can we? What strategies do you have in place to help retaliate against that?
I think we're talking cheap. So when we're talking about Rugby, we're talking about a population of the Rugby borough in Dartford for about 105,000. Compared with what have we got in Daventry? 25,000. So Rugby can support things which we would probably never be able to support.
But the point is, they can't support a high street if you look at it at the moment.
No, but in that respect, they're the architect of their own demise in High Street. I don't know if you've been to Elliot's Fields at Rugby, which is an out-of-town which, and I don't want to be sexist, but it does apply to me as well. It's a woman's dream. It's a woman's dream. You go there.
It's a men's nightmare having to walk around here as well.
And you can shop in Debenhams with shops within shops. You go to Next. We can go to Assos. We can go to Miss Selfridge and all the rest of the old Burton chain as well. The entire gambit is there. And if
would say Halfords is there as well.
yeah, I mean, as Nando's, but
The question is, we understand what's there, and hopefully many councillors have had a look at it. But how can Daventry differentiate to reduce that threat? Because if it's impacting Rugby, a lot of our people, we're not too far away from that town. So what are you able to do to improve our performance, bearing in mind Rugby's been hit so bad? Is there a different strategy we need to take?
Yes, I don't think we should have the same sort of, for a start, if we couldn't achieve it. We will not have a Daventry, we will not have a Marks and Spencer's. Wellingborough couldn't get a Marks and Spencer's, Daventry never will. So, that's that. And it doesn't fit the strategy of these big stores either. They've got it all worked out between themselves. Shopping Junction 21, we'll have one in Money, we have one in Tamworth, and we'll have one, and so on and so forth. And Banbury. And Banbury, of course, is another example. Their out-of-town shopping matters less in Banbury because the old town of Banbury is very attractive. Very attractive.
So
I think it matters less here to an extent, but we do have a requirement for better shops. For example, if you look at convenience shopping in Daventry, the two supermarkets do Waitrose, the main supermarket, Waitrose and Tesco's, do pretty well in retaining much of the expenditure on convenience goods. It's only the sort of specialty goods where people will say, let's go down to Banbury, or let's go to Milton Keynes, and somewhat dejectedly, let's go to Northampton, Rugby, and so on.
So, Councillor James, I think we understand what other towns around, and it's useful to get into that conversation, but what are you actually doing to help the traders in the town by incentivising them or encouraging them to come into the town? What are we actually doing to improve the retail that we already have? What initiatives and measures are in place?
Well, I think we've done an awful lot.
Can you tell us about it, please?
Yeah, well, come on to football.
Okay, let's get on to that if we can, because I think that's probably the one thing I probably want to know about. Councillor French.
I mean, I've recently moved and lived in Market Harborough. Market Harborough strikes me as it's a Daventry. No. Market Harborough is fantastically superior to Daventry. Daventry should be like Market Harborough. There is no Marks and Spencer's, there's no Debenhams, there's no big shops at all. Even the Sainsbury's is quite a small one. So surely we should be looking at what they've done. As a small market town of 25,000 people, they have a thriving high street that people from miles and miles around go to. Why aren't they coming to Daventry? And should we not be taking best practice from Market Harborough?
And it's right on the edge of our district, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have people living in our district shopping in Market Harborough.
Well, can I quickly come in? It will be quick.
Please.
Yes, Market Harborough. I and Chris Over have spent 10 years going backwards and forwards to Market Harborough. There is a marked difference in the affluence of those in Market Harborough. With due respect, Market Harborough doesn't have the Grange, the Headlands and the Southbrook all on low earnings.
There is an enormous council estate that is completely somewhere I would not go at night.
Well, okay, but the
Hang on, I think actually you can have this debate, but what's the data saying here? Have we got evidence?
Well, the data is saying that our high street has fared better. And I think Simon and David will agree with me, that our high street has fared better over the last 5, 8, 10 years during the recession. If you look at our high street, yes, you can say it has estate agents and hairdressers and whatever, but how many empty shops do you see in our high street?
Thank you, Councillor. What I'd like to do is let Councillor James get back onto it, because I'm really keen to know what we can do to improve, because there are empty units, we know that. We know it's not particularly, doesn't feel like a vibrant high street. You've got the florist just closed down by Waitrose, so let's move you along so we can actually see what you're doing about it.
Right. Still on corporate strategic plan, quickly run through that. We've got a measure for council-owned commercial space that is occupied. And the rate of occupancy is very high. You've got the indicators.
When you say very high, how does that compare to other authorities that might have a similar
I should think abnormally high.
Have you done the analysis, any benchmarks?
That's about 90%.
But is there any way, I mean, if I'm looking, it's indicator 1.3, is it? Commercial space?
Yes.
Occupied 86%. We had a dip, which is one of the reasons why you came in before, while we invited you in. Why did it go to 85 to 80 and back up to 86? And how do we increase it to get to a higher number?
As those lettings increase, not at any one time, a portfolio, there will be empty floor space. Even though the modern portfolio will be empty floor space. And I would think, given the size of the council's portfolio, even a single letting could make a difference of 2 or 3 percentage points. I think that's the reason for that, and the fact that it's efficiently run. I am aware, and this is by hearsay, good hearsay, I might add, that at least one major council, the investment portfolio is absolutely tapped.
Right, Councillor Randall, this is your topic we're going to start looking at here a bit later. Do you have any questions on this? Now's your golden opportunity. You're on this slide. You've been thinking about this topic since the last meeting, since November. Do you have any questions?
I have, and to me, to measure things like that is actually get out there and speak to the people, and and why isn't our town like Market Harbour? For a lot of people say that actually our town is small and we need to do something unique, to draw people in. We do have a lot of people coming from, different villages. We used to have a lot more people coming in, I think, than what we have now. We used to have a vibrant market on a Tuesday and Friday that all the villages come around. The buses used to be packed coming into this town. You walk down that high street now, half the time I can walk from top to the bottom and it's just almost like pick the person. So something has happened in our town that has people are not coming as they used to, and why? We've grown and grown. We should actually be in a position where we're attracting a lot more people. That's what, and my way of thinking is you need to get out there and speak to the shopkeepers maybe to understand, what their needs are, because they've got a lot of good ideas out there actually, that they're the ones that live and breathe the high street. Contact them and see if, they've got some initiatives and ideas that could, because they want to stay in the town. They don't want to have to move out the town or let their shop go. That is their livelihood. A lot of people want to stay, but I don't know, talking to some people, they're not going to be re-letting their shops, which I think is just really sad.
Okay, Councillor, there's a good point there actually. What information do you have from stakeholder engagement with the shopkeepers about what they would like to see in the town, or perhaps if people coming into the town? Have we done the analysis of that at all? Survey, interview, that kind of thing.
But have we done any analysis of how many people, for example, think that there's something special about Market Harbour? I don't. I honestly, I went to Oakham in the summer and I happened to come back the old way through to Market Harbour, and I was desperately thirsty. I dropped, I think it was a waitress or something, to pick up a bottle of water. And I think that was is there an Aldi or a Lidl?
There's both. And the same. Yeah. It was all in a line.
Yeah, and apart from that, Market Harbour's the same old Market Harbour that I've known all my life.
But the thing is, Market Harbour comes up a lot because it is a competitor to us. Because it's sufficiently close enough to be a
Northern district.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to go to Market Harbour, then I'm either going to go to Dingley races, which I'll probably do in about May every year, or I'm going to go to Leicester.
I think the point is
shopping. That might be different. If I lived in Brixton, for example, pop up to Market Harbour occasionally.
Yeah, it's where you live, and that's the point. You could live in our district and easily shop in Market Harbour. Councillor Frenchman, what's your point?
But the point to say is that they have a successful model. Are we talking to them or looking at what they're doing and copying it basically?
I think last year, it was in August, I didn't go to it, and there was a small business in Market Harbour, and I could have gone to it, and I didn't go to it. I think it was an all-day job, and it involved actually going around the town and seeing the initiatives for small businesses that they have. That was last summer. Yes, it was last summer.
Okay, let's not be too vague about it. Let's move on a bit. I think we've got more debate to come. Roll on, please.
Right. Priority B2, maintain, develop opportunities for employment and learning, measure those delivery school, college places in accordance with demand, the growing population. I think on that school we're doing quite well. The college, construction of the college, with progress being made towards the new school, Daventry, and the new special needs school.
Councillor Trenchman, you got
I just realised, why doesn't that measure include things like the new provision of school at Buckton Fields?
Chair, if I may, on the other one. The measure is about the things the district council has achieved. Now, the school at Buckham Field we can't claim any credit for, therefore it isn't measured. If there was a danger that it wouldn't have been provided and we stepped in and helped make it happen, yes, we count it. In the same way, we're in dialogue with the county council about the expansion of Marlborough Secondary School. And if we are successful in helping to bring that off, then we'll count that. It happens that some of the worst issues are in Daventry Town, and therefore that is what has been counted. But wherever in the district we're able to provide spaces, then we'll count them.
So this is through the council, district council being an enabler or a facilitator?
Yes, the role there is, in the case of the special school, we made the site available.
Yeah.
In the case of the college, we've acted as a funding partner. In the case of the UTC, we're a funding partner and we helped to facilitate that. In the case of Moulton, it may be more of a sort of almost suggesting the idea of why don't you do this? And put this package together, some local road funding and so on. So in each case, the role will be different. But provided we can say, had we not got stuck in and done something, this wouldn't have happened. Then it gets counted. Sorry, Monksmoor with a direct provider in that case, yes.
Yeah. So
That's
Didn't realise that, yeah.
very good. Let's, Councillor, I'm going to stop you. Let's move on, David. So I think we've understood that indicator. Sorry, Councillor Ryan, did you have a quick question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, you know, we can deliver these new school places, college places, which is fine, but actually what do we measure them against? You know, we've delivered the spaces, that's fine. But if they're not, you know, we don't measure if we filled those spaces, so do we just keep putting them on there and never...
It's about making them available. I suppose they'll roll off over time.
But then people could come along, look at that and think, oh, that's lovely, look at that. Because people would look at them differently. I'm well sure a member of the public would think, oh, wow. And we could deliver them, but if we don't get them filled, I don't see why.
I think you have to look beyond the data, obviously, and read and understand the data, and that's part of the purpose of this committee, with this particular action. But I think you understand that basically it's providing those places.
And then how long do we keep them on a rolling programme for?
I mean, Simon can answer, but I would have said that this will come off at the next corporate plan cycle because those will be delivered, and then it's up to the establishments themselves to drive the populations. Let's take the comment of Councillor Paul.
yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that the special needs school will be up to capacity for the number of people that actually travel out of Daventry for such schools as far as Kettering. And with regards to primary school, and Simon has just mentioned Monksmoor, one has been approved planning for Micklewell, and there is a national shortage of primary school places. But it's what we do after the primary school, and you know, it's already been said that the DDC has been the enabler. In the past was one of the, what was it called, Simon, the Learning Partnership, where, and I said we've reinstigated it, haven't we? Which enabled, you know, the likes of the UTC and others to come along.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. I think the point is, actually, and maybe this is where you come from, Councillor, if you're looking here at the role that Councillor James does, once the school is delivered, does he have an ongoing role in helping to drive that? Then I think the question is probably, the answer is probably no. So basically, once that rolls off, so and in a way, that's why I want to have that. We know we can deliver that capacity from the work that you've done, but actually, and that's why a lot of the activity really needs to be how do you make the town vibrant in terms of opportunities for employment and retail, etc. And they're the areas where I think, in some respects, we need to focus our attention on Councillor James' portfolio. But let's move on again. I'm conscious of time. We want to get the best out of it, but we also don't want to dwell too long on any particular item.
as priority B3, the district is a place that is recognised as being open for business. I think that's an important priority, because some authorities, not too far away from here, give the impression sometimes that they're not open for business, whereas, say, Milton Keynes, if they have an opportunity, they say, oh, there's something like that. And they'll investigate it and look at it. And I think this council is fairly proactive in that respect. That we shouldn't just be sniffy-nosed or say, rule something out, that we should actually investigate the possibility and see whether it will be suitable for our districts and for our people.
And how lively is that? I mean, at any particular time, say now for instance, I know you can't give us specifics, etc. How many conversations would you be having like that at the moment? Where you've got really interested businesses looking to come into the town that aren't currently here?
It's probably more appropriate than I actually am, because we tend to try and keep those discussions with officers rather than members for very obvious reasons. At the moment, there are probably, half a dozen substantial ones live. It's very hard to measure, because they'll range from casual conversations where we just sort of say, come and talk to us, through to detailed ongoing discussions, ranging from very large to quite small developments. We also have an ongoing engagement through Net Assembly with inward investment opportunities, which produce a stream, several each month, I would say, where we'll put forward positive propositions wherever we can. And that's produced some notable results. As a pharmaceutical company coming into Eden, for example, we don't really have a pharma sector here, but we have managed to secure that one. So it does work, and we try and protect that spirit across the piece. So the settlement of the countryside local plan is currently out for consultation. Part of that process is engaging with the business sector and saying, what is it you need, what is it you want, how can we work better together? That's what the discussions are.
Thank you. In terms of this priority, I mean, are they when they come and talk to us, are they saying, we understand you're open for business? I mean, how do they play that message back to you? What makes them think we're open for business as opposed to being close to business, and how do we differentiate ourselves from other local authorities? Surely everybody's open for business. How are we more open for business than others?
There is a question of attitude. Councillors want to comment, but they know that if they come and talk to us, depending on the scale of investment, they will get senior officer and senior member engagement if that's required to help move something forward. We don't just sit back and leave it to the control team to say yes or no. Ultimately, there's a proper planning function which is carried out. The authority corporately can take a more positive approach. And sometimes it's just the fact that we're willing to meet them and say you're welcome. It's surprising how much that psychology has an impact on the relationship.
Yeah, I think you've got a good example of the opposite side. Wanted to locate in Northampton, and everybody from that sort of southeastern side of Northampton said, no way are we having that. And sure enough, what happens? Milton Keynes says, we'll have it.
Yeah,
Shot themselves in the foot. Thank you. Good example. So,
I do find that a lot of that actually happens in this town. This town is talked down so much by a lot of people, and then that just becomes political sometimes, and it's wrong. And where we go wrong is the officers here do an outstanding job, and I am part of that. And I have written letters, and officers have written letters on my behalf, and we've sent them out around the world to invest in this town. But there's a lot of bad publicity within this town simply because people are very keen to say that this hasn't happened, that hasn't happened, and we're doing this and we're doing that, but the information doesn't always come back to us of who said what. And a lot of it is rumours. A lot of it is the papers will sell newspapers because it's good to sell newspapers on bad press. And this town gets a lot of bad press because of the press and because people who feed the press, where the officers and a lot of the members are doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. And you're asking a lot of awkward questions here tonight, which I understand is your job.
Don't worry, you'll have them next time.
Yes, but what I'm saying to you is some of the questions you ask are actually probably a little bit too close for comfort, because some of the information, and you well know, is very confidential because it's about the investment that these people want to bring to this town, and they may not because if stuff gets out, which it does. of the bad press, then it's like people walk away. And people do walk away from this town. Big companies walk away from this town because we don't want a certain brand. And that's not the case. We want certain brands of the lower end chain as well, because that is job creation. So we want all sorts of, we want high class and lower end of shops coming to this town. We don't just want a particular brand.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. A piece of feedback on my chairing. This is how we approach it. We like to ask questions, and we expect the portfolio to give us these answers. And next month you'll have the same. Next month you'll have the same opportunity. Councillor Paul.
Well, there's not a town, village in the land that is not slagged off, excuse that term, for what they don't do. Papers are never filled with many, many thanks that our council is the most wonderful council in the world. However, recent publications have commented that there have been 700 plus new start-up businesses, new start-up business within our district in the last 12-18 months. Now that's a tremendous achievement. That shows I think it shows that we are, as David and Simon have said, we are open for business. People are looking, but the most important thing, there has been a straight line, and that straight line has never been deviated from. You may tweak it a little bit here and there, but that straight line has been in place for the last 10 years.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Does anybody have any questions on this slide before we get Councillor Jones to move on to the next slide? Any burning issues? No. Councillor Jones, next slide, thank you.
Theme C, efficient and effective council. Priority, maximising income generation. I think we all agreed that we do a pretty good job in that. So that we are effectively replace our finance and we know about the performance against these measures, so we have next slide, commercial development. There is a copy of the current iteration of the Site 3 Master Plan. When the further changes are complete, following stakeholder input, we'll come to the strategy group for approval to consult the public. In the meantime, we've got strong developer and occupier interest, hotel, senior living, etc. And one developer is so keen he wishes to make a presentation to the chief executive, so to show his goals and ambitions. So there's quite a bit of interest in this. And this is the sort of thing, I think, which would help us take on that Market Harbour image, if you like.
Without doubt.
The purpose of this project is to make the town an attractive place to come to. Otherwise, we would simply just say, Daventry, just carry on up the A5, carry on the A45 and so on. Just miss it out altogether. And I think if we make it attractive, and this would certainly do that, perhaps people from Market Harbour might be saying, we're going to Daventry.
I would hope so.
I think Councillor Wesley has a different view with regards to Market Harbour and water space.
Well, hang on. Councillor Wesley can make that point if he so wishes. You don't need to speak from Councillor Paul. But, okay, I think we know where we are with this particular development, and from the presentations we've had, and we know perhaps where we can and cannot go, perhaps now questioning. But I suppose the most logical question is, the new developments as they come on stream, will they have, if the aspiration is to be more like Market Harbour but perhaps better or different, does this actually does that get us closer to that particular thriving retail scene, or does it actually end up in a rugby-like situation where you decimate the town centre?
No, there's
and how do you actually mitigate that from happening?
Well,
I
mean, it's the actual site-specific itself. This is actually a central site. It's rather like Site 5, where people say, well, that's off-centre or out of town. It's not, it's actually central. And this is central too. See on the bottom of Lodge Road, down just... It's so simple. Go from the council offices straight across to the icon and along there. It's actually quite a contained centre. with a good part of it a showpiece, if you like, with the plan there.
Let's come to a question from Councillor Randall. Councillor Randall.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have got serious concerns in this town, as well as shopkeepers, about actually how it's going to link to the town centre, because it's down the bottom, town centre's an uphill, and they've got real concerns actually that it's going to ruin the high street. I know when different things come before planning, there was lots of things going on. When it was the Mulberry Place, there was a lot of shopkeepers actually put in opposition. They didn't know, they've got really serious concerns, and actually it's all about the approach to the town as well. I mean, there's been a lot of complaints lately about the approaches to the towns, that they just look a mess. And actually, you approach Market Harbour, for instance, if we're talking about Market Harbour, and it's a pretty little town. Out, you come along the A45, you've got muddy, deep ruts, you're confronted by a scrapyard, by a derelict garage, by a derelict hotel, roundabout you can't see through because the trees are so high. We actually haven't got a pretty approach to our town. What welcomes you? So it's no good once they're in there. You've got to, to me, all around, it's all around thinking, and it's actually how you're going to link up. I went on the DACT bus
Can I just stop you there a second, actually, because let's do this in turn of a chunk. I've got a point from Councillor Rundle, Councillor Weswick, but actually there's a fair point there, isn't there? You basically approach the town, and it's not a pretty town, particularly if you're coming on the A45. And I know we got the press release last week about development on the Knoll. How are you going to make it a more attractive town when you enter the town? What plans do you have in place?
Well, I don't think it is unattractive, and I'll tell you why. Because
I appreciate this is subjective, by the way, but I'll probably
when I
most
drive
people
in,
would say a scrap
when I
yard is
drive in
attractive.
past that, coming up to that hotel and the petrol filling station on that side, I just carry on. I'm looking at the roundabout ahead. I don't take any notice of that, and as soon as I get past that, I remember London Road as it was, and I used to talk about this new bypass that's being built, which is, and I still think London Road is very, very nice. It is a nice approach. Now, as far as that hotel is concerned, for whatever reason, it's empty, it's probably derated, perhaps because it's no beneficial use. There's not much we can do about that. As to the scrapyard, of course we could do something about that, but it would cost an awful lot of money. And class it as a non-conforming use. It might cost a tremendous amount of money to do, but it could be done.
Let me come to Councillor Wesley. Councillor Randall, I don't know, did you want to make a point on that?
I would just say that obviously there's now overlaps between portfolios, but we are consulting on the Settlements and Countryside Local Plan at the moment, and there's an identified need for Daventry to grow further during the plan period. Obviously that does potentially open up opportunities to address some of the town's approaches. Now whether it will allow us to sort out the A45 project, I can't say, but it is a possibility that we'll certainly be keen to explore as part of the plan making process.
Thank you, something useful input. Councillor Wesley?
Yeah, it's really to round up just a couple of bits and pieces. I think you've raised it, Chair, Councillor Randall's raised it. And despite what Councillor Paul says, I've never said no to that development. What I want of it is to be a very special development. It is
I think your view of
just a meet.
Councillor Paul, stop talking.
A meet, not a Me Too development. I think it's a really good thing. But for me, the whole key to it is everything. And we've heard tonight about some really good regeneration or generation features that have come into this town in terms of school buildings, icon centres, future new development. But to actually make it work, you've got to join up all of those dots, and I think this is the key to it. I think there's some fairly small things that we can do. It seems that as a town, what we're good at is what we're looking at is attracting new things, and we're actually saying, yeah, we can get this and we can get this, and we've got a new bit here, we've got a new bit there. And then it's almost like we say, yeah, we've got a new thing, and then we always forget about it a little bit, forget about it. I think that's really important that we focus on the joining that bit. Yeah, and we do want people to go to that bit and into our high street, and from our high street down into that bit. You can't forget, and you've got to get them into the approaches, and all of those things are vital to make it a vibrant working place. And I think we do have to start looking and measuring how we get kids back in, how we have initiatives to get kids to stay in our schools, and so their parents come to pick them up and go into our shops, because all of those things are linked. It's not. I think that is the key to our regeneration in our process and how we make this town much more special. I think some of those things, sometimes they almost seem, I won't say trivial or too small, but sometimes it's a lick of paint and some extra planting and
attention to detail. Can I stop you there and bring Councillor Arno? Final point from me, and then we'll move on to the next slide, okay?
No, all I was saying that I was out on the DAC bus last week, and a lot of the elderly people value the DAC bus because obviously it's quite hilly in the town, so it brings them, up onto the top high street. They never go down the end of the town because they can't get down the bottom and they can't get back up the hill. So, that is the thing. It's how do you get something so that it goes round, so they can get from one end to the other. What you're going to do?
That's the question. What will you do to make sure it's accessible by people going forward?
I think you find that when Site 5 is developed, that to get from Site 5 to Site 3, if you get it, and it is more or less then on the level. Because where these people come from, they come from the headlands, or what are they coming from? I don't see that as a problem. Site 5 is the key to opening that out and making it more accessible, the development of Site 5.
Thank you. I think
because the road will be refashioned.
Councillor Jones, it's quite handy actually. I mean, even though we're scrutinising you, it's obviously good feedback to make sure these things are on your radar. Even if but interesting enough, actually, one of the things I've always done is bought newspapers for other surrounding towns. Thursday is often a bumper day for reading, and last week, I don't know if everybody saw this, but I had the rugby advertising, and there was a letter in the letters page praising Daventry and criticising rugby, and it even said in the letter, "You want to go? No wonder people are going to Daventry from rugby because the parking is free and the bus station is amazing," or something like that. Kind of. I don't know if anybody saw that. No, it's amazing. Actually, somebody in rugby saying that they come to Daventry because of the free, or basically rugby's going downhill. So it's a nice change to see.
The grass is always greener, I think.
The grass always greener.
One of our old directors, when they were talking about the 5,500 houses on the BT side, she and I agreed that would you go to rugby shopping? No. You might go to Elliott Fields, the new part. Having said that, if you can get in and out of the car park, but that's another story. But if you go to their old clock tower building, which is well past its sell-by date, I can understand anybody wishing to get out of those.
It's a dismal experience. Let's roll on. Conscious of time, let's wrap this whole conversation in about the next 10 minutes. We can move on to the
So that's Site 3. The master plan there is evolved. Site 3. Canal link, of course. Humberside Danelaw extension, that's an initiative of the council.
And Councillor Chairman, is the soil from that being used on Monksmoor? Is that actually happening?
It was intended to be used for the formation of the plateau, but they wouldn't take that.
Unfortunately, Chris Nicholson were incredibly slow to deal with it. We raised it about a year before we needed to. They said yes in principle, and we never actually managed to get to a point where it was resolved in detail. So in the end, because otherwise we'd have had to stop digging, it's gone off-site. Very regrettable. Yeah. It's cost us more money, although it was allowed for us to the problem in that sense. It has cost Chris Nicholson more money, and it's cost the environment as well. So thoroughly regrettable outcome. But there's only so far you can wait.
Exactly. So lots of traffic movements, lots of soil moving here, there and everywhere, and it could have just moved across the town.
Absolutely.
But the developer for Monksmoor was basically slow. Yeah. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. What's the normal preparation? Because I've had various comments even from the public about this, and trees being stripped down, etc. Why have they been stripped now at this stage? I know it's because the birds nesting, but there's nothing even going there yet, surely. So where are we with this? What's the vision
What's
for that site?
Well, this is a scheme for the site, potential scheme there. I think between about 2,700 metres of space, wasn't it?
Right, yes, I did,
I
yeah.
think it's 2,700 metres of space, and we're looking for a high-end user. So it'll be a good development and a good occupier.
It's simple, Chairman, if I may. There's a limit to what I can say in an open session, but we have two.
And sorry, actually, for the sake of Councillor Howard, you're always okay if I ask a question to say I can't answer that question. We'll accept. We know we can't push you on that.
No.
We also have to test the limits.
That's fine.
Yeah, you know that.
That's understood. What I can say, I think, safely, is that we have two high-end engineering businesses who wish to locate in the town. There is currently nowhere for them to go. They're both existing businesses in the town, but they've both got important growth prospects. There is nowhere for them to go, therefore we need new space. And one of the problems actually I have as the manager responsible for the commercial estate is we're now at a point where people come to us, I have to turn them away. That I don't like.
Which is not the same as being open for business.
Quite.
Yeah.
You're losing opportunities. There is the potential to do a scheme on the Knoll which will generate significant revenue return for the council, generate high-end jobs and further growth in the town, all of which are ticks the council's corporate priorities. If we are to make that happen, we're going to act fairly fast, which means we couldn't wait for a whole year for the bird nest season to come around again, hence the early clearance of the trees. It's not been massively expensive, it would need to be done anyway, given it is a development site. So it's been done now to make sure we are essentially prevented from taking this opportunity.
And I actually have personal interest in this because it's my ward.
Yes.
And Councillor Oasis ward, and I've had residents ask me about this.
Of course.
Yeah. So, any questions on this while we're on the subject? Simon can always tell us if we've got one second, one at a time. Councillor Howard first.
I think we're talking more so of ash trees and brambles, more so than trees of any significance here, aren't we? Anyway, I do walk scrub land, I do walk there quite a lot with my dog, so we're not talking quality trees as such.
No, I'm sure when he goes to plan there'll be a whole biodiversity conversation as well. But again, it's curiosity, isn't it? A loss of sort of perceived space. Let's go to Councillor French first. To you.
No, it's answered the question.
Okay, very good. Councillor Paul.
Many years ago, school children from Daventry planted a lot of trees on the knoll. Can I be assured, albeit that Councillor Howard has said they are ash trees and they're dying, and there are people in Daventry, even if Councillor Robertson does smile, but there are people in Daventry that care about the knoll and the trees that were planted by the children, and I'm happy, perhaps Simon can confirm what Councillor Howard has just said, that actually what we're clearing away is of no significance or no importance.
The trees were selected for clearance by our project team in consultation with the council's tree officer. I can't tell you that no tree of significance has been lost because development is like that, but certainly wherever possible, trees of significance have been lost.
Brilliant. Thank you. Councillor Paul, for a second, please just be careful. I mean, we all have to respect each other, but I have no idea if Councillor Robertson did anything going on, but
Sure, I must have a very happy face. It's not the first time he's accused me of smiling, I'm just observing it.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Right, let's move on to the next one. Thank you for that.
Next one, B12, Town Centre Retail. This is the scheme for site 5, north and south. It's turned around the other way. It's the first time I've seen this going out to the right.
Let's keep them on your toes.
Not the wrong way.
Figure out the orientation.
Yeah. Well, this scheme is progressing, and it is a priority for now. I'd love to say I can't wait for the diggers to get on with something and planning. The detailed scheme proposal is still being worked up. Prospective tenants being negotiated with, and the planning application work.
One moment, Councillor Jones. Councillor Carter's leaving. You've got another meeting.
I have, yes. I didn't realise it was going to be such a long presentation. That's all. I'm looking at Councillor James's pile of papers there.
You want to explore?
I
We'll be
appreciate
finished
that.
soon.
I'll listen it round to tea.
So that's site 5, and really that is I think that's more than 100% just to get that through. I think, the residents of Daventry want to see some action. They really do. We've talked about it for long enough.
Okay, so this is important to us. So we understand as a scrutiny team where your focus is,
Yeah.
and this is your number one priority to get this development moving, because the public expectation or the other drivers will move. Does anybody have, again, any questions on this particular?
When will it be complete, do you think?
Well, if we get a planning application in, so ready for, say, the summer, and if we get that through by the autumn, I can't see a reason why we can't start on this sometime later this year. Possibly, 2016, 2007, beginning of 2018.
That sounds reasonable. Yeah.
So it's a reasonable time frame. The development will come through. The planning will come through in the summer.
Yes.
Councillor Randall.
Yeah, I noticed, obviously, it's changed quite a bit from the original look of the building. Will that come back to planning again, or not now that it's changed? Does it have to come back, or?
Simon, I think it's
There'll be a fresh planning.
Right,
That needs to be, because it's a materially different scheme.
Right, okay, thank you.
very good.
And
Councillor
finally,
Paul, quick question.
Just one of the most important factors will be the first digger on the site, and it will tick so many boxes with regard to open for business, etc., that it's crucial for that first digger to get on that site as the link road.
Well, actually, that's a good point. Councillor James, with respect to that link road, that's not your portfolio, it links in. Digging started on that now, but I haven't noticed where are the diggers? Where are the actual diggers?
On where?
On the link road.
on the link road itself.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going back a bit. Well, open for business.
Well,
where is the digger?
If you go back round the back of Nether Hayford, so if you come off a junction...
Can you not see them yet from the road?
No.
You can't see them from the road?
No.
Right. How do they get there?
It will be a long time before you actually see it. Because the link road runs parallel from junction 16, parallel with the M1, before it then starts to turn
The
west.
diggers are in a field.
Yes, so that's where they are. And,
Simon, how did they get... Sorry, I know you know. How did they get into the field? We're talking about symbolic aspects, right?
I would think by road, Chairman. I think I'm likely the way I lifted in. Well, it's important to remember at this stage, all that's been formally contracted, as far as we are aware, although we believe it will be imminent for the main contract, is the utility diversion works and landscape clearance. For the same reasons, in many ways, that I mentioned with Nod a few minutes ago. If the County Council didn't get the trees cleared in time, the main construction couldn't start this spring. Their programme has been to start this spring. We trust they will deliver that, and then there's about an 18-month build thereafter. So you should start seeing really heavy engineering maybe later in May time.
Good, thank you very much. Let's move on a slide. I'm conscious of time.
So that is progressing. And then finally on this slide, Site 1 is still, we haven't abandoned Site 1, and still being given further consideration, and other things are being looked at, because we would like to deliver what was promised. Not exactly what was promised, but we would like to deliver on the scheme for something, so it hasn't been abandoned.
Thank you, Councillor Randall. Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Randall, Councillor Wesley.
Yeah, on Site 1, it gets quite confusing on what sites what, especially to the public, and what sites what. Sometimes I have to think about what site is actually one thing. And so Site 1 is the back of Primrose Hill. Yeah. And obviously that's where the shops are going to be delivered, and the cinema. And obviously it's for further consideration. People out there are saying, is it ever going to come? And how long does this sit under further consideration? Are we looking 5 years or 10 years, or what time frame may we be looking at?
Well, my guess is if we were to attempt to deliver multiple places, was promised, this is a personal opinion, it doesn't reflect the views of any of the officers of the council. But if we're talking about increases in rental value to justify such a scheme, retail increases of about 40%, then I would say you're talking in terms of a minimum, absolute minimum, 5 years, probably 10 years. The rental values in Daventry are extremely low, very low. In fact, sometimes you probably get a much higher rental value from an out-of-town shed from a prime pitch in Daventry. It's as simple as that. And it is that fact which has stopped model place from going ahead, the existing scheme, because the rental values won't produce the capital values that will produce the residual value that justifies it.
Basically, it's not economically viable for the operators. But let's when the scheme.
Having said that,
go on.
I mean, one could, if you've got site 5, which and site 3 going, which was very vibrant, very attractive, it might lift rental values to justify perhaps a slightly watered version of every place.
But that's the point, Councillor. You need to unlock that first site to get it moving.
Yeah.
That's what. I've got a couple of extras to come in, but Councillor Arnold, I totally sympathise with your point about the site numbers. I bet all of us at some point have probably been mixed up about these site numbers. In a way, I guess, how do you communicate that to the public? What a site means. I guess it's really about selling the vision about what we hope to be there in the future once it's economically viable. I think, in a way, maybe for the public, the numbers don't mean so much and don't need to mean so much. It's basically about, I would say, having trust that we're moving the agenda forward. Let's take some more points. Councillor Wesley, and then Councillor Paul.
I was glad to hear Councillor Jones tell us that maybe the development of the other sites could be the key to really be the key. And I think, again, it comes back to what I said before, it's the question of actually joining up all of the dots and making that work, because it's like getting everything. You sort of need something to happen to make it, and one thing leads to another, leads to another. I just like some reassurance though, as part of this, we don't just abandon this site. I do get it's in the ward, and there are a lot of comments about about the state of it at times, and about how it's actually kept. And the worst thing in the world is, oh yeah, well, obviously something's going to happen to that next year, and so we won't do anything with it. And it is, at times, it does get very, very untidy on that site, and it is a little bit. Sometimes you do feel it's abandoned in the town, and that is the worst thing for our town. That places look semi-abandoned or slightly abandoned or uncared for, and I know sometimes it might be thinking, well, there's a bit of a waste of money there because we'll be knocking it down at some point in time. But I think it's important that we keep a real focus on keeping the town looking the part, even if
the town needs to be kept like it's open for business. That's the point.
And this is what this just comes around to, this regeneration thing is keeping the town, everything about the town regenerated, and not just the new bits, because otherwise the new bits will just sit there and get old like the others.
I think Councillor Chambers, there's a takeaway for your thing there, and that's basically, yes, the new development is a priority, but actually it's also equally important to make sure the existing landscape is maintained,
yes,
and looks attractive, and indeed is open for business. And chair's privilege, I obviously share the ward with Councillor Wesley, and I have the same experience and the same feedback all the time. That's the point. I suppose we are very town focused, but he also is our ward. Let's go quick comment from Councillor Paul, then roll it on the slide again.
We're talking about site numbers. We know the water space, we know Mulberry Place, and those are the two important ones. In site 5 doesn't have a name as yet. However, when we're talking about aspirations for site 1 and or any other aspirations, who around this table would have predicted that the Sainsbury's, the Asda's, the Tesco's and the Morrisons would have dipped into their profits so dramatically in this last couple of years? Who would have predicted that the likes of Lidl and Aldi have doubled, trebled and quadrupled their turnover in certain towns. So you've got to have a crystal ball. You know, we talked, Councillor Randall talked about Interpark coming into town. Nobody disagrees with her. It's an absolute eyesore. However, you've only got to look at the world market for steel. Interpark are trying to recycle steel. So their aspirations, you know, they could have made a fortune out of steel had the price not dropped. So, you know, they could have moved, perhaps, had their business gone. So it's very much a crystal ball of what we do, and you know, we are the enablers, but we've got to be able to cut almost the coat to the cloth that we have.
Councillor, I'm going to stop you. Thank you very much. I almost feel like you're the portfolio author at this point in time. You're doing a very good job for supporting. Thank you. But let's move on. Thank you for your comments, constructive and helpful. Let's wrap this up in the next couple of minutes now. I think we've put you on the stump a long time.
Oh God, not for long more.
What I'd like to do actually is change the strategy, run through them, and then we'll wrap up with any final questions.
Okay,
It's always a risky business getting questions as you go, but it keeps it fresh in people's memory.
This is the council's commercial property occupation square target. I've already mentioned that. Further tenants signing up. We are carrying out a programme of refurbishment work starting this summer. That's already in the budget, approved and so on. We're running out of stock in some sizes and types. That's a good sign. Rental income above target should rise further. Target budget also rising, so the scope for getting more in. Okay. Next one's nice, easy one. Schools and college places, Northampton College, Daventry, under construction. I don't think the steel work has gone in, but it's about to, isn't it?
It's on site.
Quickly, Councillor Randall, because we are in a
No, I was
basically
just going to say
stage.
that they've been a bit held up this week due to high winds, so but they are hoping to get back on schedule.
And DDC funding deal was fundamental to this, so that's another stride. Hill School Special Academy under construction. I think it's Bounds doing that.
Councillor Randall?
Yeah,
You've been working your heart out around town, hasn't it?
No, they're running behind schedule, my understanding is, and they may have to access UTC provision apparently.
Yeah,
Because they're running a bit
if I may,
behind.
Chair, that's correct. The plan is that they will use the UTC, part of the UTC building for a few months until they're building, which isn't a big issue because it'll be the first entire year, so it was built last year.
And that, Councillor Randall, will answer your question about the capacity for the UTC, because the numbers might go up during that period. Anyway, carry on.
And DDC provided the land when the EFA, Education Funding, given up on the idea. And we also got a capital receipt of £750,000 for the site. So, straight money to it.
Good.
Right, another quick one, Monksmoor Primary School. Design work is advanced there. It's a 1.5 form entry, 30 children in a form, 1.5 times 30.
What is 1.5 form?
Well, a single form is 30 children per year, so 1.5 is equivalent to 45 children.
Does that mean you'll have one class with 30 and one class with 15? How's that working?
I don't know how
I thought they only had two.
You probably have 2, 20 something, or you might get mixed years. So you get reception year 1, or year 1 and 2, depending on the numbers in the rest of the school, the teachers,
Development needs to provide the plateau. Could have used that earth, of course.
And Councillor Chair, is 2017 realistic? Bearing in mind it's obviously February 2016.
We're hoping so. There's work needed to be done on completing the 106, make sure we don't lose out on that. We're hoping so, but it could slow. I think it's a target here.
I'll let you keep going back.
If I may just elaborate on that slightly, we can meet that target if President Wilson keep their promise to give us the development plateau in August so we can start filing. If they don't, it'll fall back to September 18 because we can't build a school in thin air.
And then north of Northampton, there's an initiative there in discussion with the Daventry County Council about a local growth fund bid. And that's all I'm allowed to say.
Very good. Sorry, to go back to Amazon actually, for September 2017 opening, they'll need to get their applications in at the end of the year, wouldn't they? This is the pupils to go there in September 2000, because they have to do it by November, December, whatever it is, this year.
Yeah, Chairman, we are working with NCC in terms of both the selection of the academy provider, because obviously we could provide a physical building, but then NCC have to recommend an academy provider to the Department for Education to agree to fund them. Not very confident that will happen. And it has to go into the admissions book and all that we're quite right. Now, if all things to be going well, NCC will start running their side of the process. If it doesn't, and clearly they won't, because they don't want to encourage people to apply for a school which doesn't exist, that wouldn't help them anymore. So, with a reasonably fair wind, it will be achieved. If anything serious goes wrong, and the obvious one, as I say, is Crest don't quite get their act together and deliver us to Plateau with the school wrong, then it won't fall back.
Thank you. Councillor Frenchman?
I know you can't say much, but what is north of Northampton? I mean, it's just
Not Brixworth.
Sorry?
Not Brixworth.
Well, what do we talk about? A school, a college, a leisure centre, or what?
Yes, school. An extension to the school.
A secondary school. So more. Which is what you mentioned earlier.
I mean, to be fair, Chairman, I have probably said more than I have to justification to say, so that's my fault. I'll hold my hands up to that.
Okay.
The reason I didn't want to go any further than that was because Malta School themselves aren't aware of the discussion at present.
Right.
So it would be discourteous to discuss it this way around. So
I was hoping to get to the next. Just to mention.
Yeah, pile on and we'll reserve.
The council leader and the chief executive officer are working with the Education Funding Agency, Regional Schools Commission and so on, to try and find a solution to the quality problem in Daventry's primary schools. Find out what it is. Is there an actual problem, or is it a combination of actual and perceived problems that's creating the problem? Because we do get kids from here that go to Oxford, it's as simple as that. And they're Daventry kids too. And not long since, one youngster wrote a nice letter to the banker saying how wonderful experience she'd had being a pupil at EACT at Ashby.
I think the issue is, Councillor, we don't need exceptions, we need it to be the majority of people, that's the point. So it's nice having quirky examples, but we need to aspire to more than that. Let's move on.
Chairman, would you excuse me?
Cool. This is the point to everybody, where Councillor Paul leaves the meeting before, and we rattle through it really quickly. You should send that aside and see what time we finish when
We
you
have
leave.
a prior appointment and I have stayed till the very end almost.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Good night all.
Thank you, member of the public.
And then some stats on the district economy showing how well we're doing. Unemployment is low, 0.7%. I don't know if South Northampton is lower than that, but if it is, it's not more than a feather, I would think. Youth employment is low. Development is continuing. Apex Park, large building there, we found a tenant for that, okay. Where's that? Apex Park, that's up on the north side of Daventry.
Oh, I know.
Driving from Braunton's that one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Can't miss it, actually.
Durf 3, and then south of Fords along Leamington Way, there's an application in for 3 large units there.
Can we ask, does anybody want to ask any questions about this? I think there's been some, Councillor Wesley.
Yeah, just a little thought about how things will work and our availability. So we're talking about rental units and actually letting them all and running out of space, and also us being open for business. We do see some rather large sheds in the scheme of things, and I'm not saying that they won't be let or used, but at the end of the day they tend to be large sheds, which means lorries in, forklifts load them up and then out they go. Is there any scope, or are we actually looking at providing higher end user units?
But perhaps smaller units.
For example, that's going to be.
I realise that. But apart from that, I'm just saying, because we have got, and I'm not putting down. I'm not putting them down. But I'm just saying, is there any scope for sort of saying to people, "Well, wait a minute, what about this, what about this, and what about this? And I'm thinking higher values.
I think the question is how fit for purpose is the portfolio? How mix is the portfolio?
Here, Chairman, we overlap portfolios, so Councillor give me pick up some Councillor Chandler's issues. Part of the work for the countryside local plan is identifying the need for different types of employment.
Okay.
We have engaged with the Flats Chamber and with NEC and SEMLEP to say, what do you think the needs are? But we've also got some money, or the current loan budget, for employment analysis. And it may well be, and we have felt this itch as well, if you like, that there is a need to try and facilitate the provision of small units, because it is relatively cheap and relatively profitable to buy very big sheds, because the volume of development value you get is greater for the amount of investment, and therefore naturally the price will tend to go there. So obviously the council itself will do something, but there's also some potential to look at policy interventions whereby we can allocate sites with particular constraints and so on. So very much aware of that. You're trying to get some definite evidence we can justify policy on the back of. But yeah, we are seeking to.
Good, because actually it strikes me that some of the areas feel poor quality. I'm not sure if they are inside, but they don't necessarily have that kind of appearance, particularly the small businesses growing life might like to have, profile a nice place to be as well. You go around some places and you see very nice kind of parks for small businesses, etc. Those kind of things. So that's kind of
That's really
kind of things you're thinking of for the offices and so on. Councillor French,
Picking up exactly on that point that was just made. Kate Spears' point, but my thoughts are we limiting ourselves, or are there thoughts for a high-tech industrial area next to it? Or is it just going to be a site for what it says it's going to be, or are we going to make it a centre of excellence for other high-tech automobile possibly, but any high-tech businesses?
Well, it'd be a university science park, basically, isn't it, next to it?
Is it? That's what so there will be use made.
The planning application is it? Before Christmas. I suppose there are discussions going on. I don't really know.
When can we have an update? I mean, I know we're having one now, but I mean a more formal update. This is a formal update. I mean a real momentum behind it. When can we see something more visible?
I suppose when it's play application is it on the website?
Yeah. What's the sort of time frame?
Is it actually on the website?
Right.
Oh, is it?
There are 3 universities. Because it is a unique project. There's Coventry University, Daventry University, and which is a very good site, Cranfield. It's a proper university, if you like. Cranfield.
Well, they're all proper universities, surely. They may have different profiles.
Even though I'm just observing.
Yeah, you're more welcome to speak, Councillor. Well, no, they're all proper universities.
A university that has a lot of experience in delivering postgraduate programs, if you like, which Coventry does. That's my own personal.
Yeah, but
they're
they're all proper universities, aren't they?
Yes, they're 3 universities. And I can't remember some of the precise of the buildings. They are very sizable buildings. So, a number of points about that. One is there are employment opportunities there. Secondly, there'll be a substantial additional rate of value both for the operational part of the facility, that's the aerodynamics testing and so on, and also for the university science part. Now, is there scope for increasing that? Well, that really depends upon the planners. I'm talking about Catesville. They may have a view of that. Different from mine, I would say. Bring it on. But
I think we understand the point where we're up to in this one. Let's quickly move on to the last couple of slides, and we'll refrain from asking you any questions till we get to the end.
Data, collect to understand and take action. I think that's necessary for Footfall, spending, car parking, non-domestic rates. Good baselines for when changes occur. So, town centre footfall monthly averages, these are monitors. You can see it's within reason. It's fairly stable. You see December.
Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. If I don't answer on one anyway, but December has actually seen a fall every year, if I've read the data correctly. Although January goes up on the 2 years, but you don't have the data yet for this year. But actually, December was very interesting. I would say December's quite almost alarming data, actually.
Well, I mean, we're talking a drop there, about 7,000, isn't it?
7,000, that's over a period of a month.
No, December, from the previous month, November, it's quite an increase.
No, I've got to. Can I just get. Sorry to. This is December, right?
Yeah.
This is the last 2015-16.
Yeah.
You've got the difference between there and there.
Yeah, it is a drop. Quite substantial. Yes, I do look at that.
So what's the y-axis? That number of feet for people, basically. So you work on the. What is that? What is that?
The count we have 5 or 6 at the Knights Concert, whatever it is, football monitors around the town, and they count bodies going by.
Yeah.
Now, in theory, one extremely athletic runner could change the results, but we think it's a reasonably reliable measure of town centre activity. Isn't necessarily the town centre spend, but it's likely the two are correlated, so it's a reasonable measure to have. And as Councillor James has said, the fundamental reason we put it in actually was so that we could see the difference when major developments happen. We can monitor what's going on.
Yes.
The December data is probably a bit of an anomaly. I have a feeling 3 years ago it was abnormally high, and therefore it's flattering that year's figures. Whereas the overall trend is probably more balanced.
You probably almost have to take December's out because December does look odd.
Yeah.
But then I suppose you have to take more time as well. Let's take a question from Councillor. I'm sorry, I'm stopping on this one because I know Councillor Arnold discuss this one at every meeting. So here's your moment. You've got
I do actually, because football is a big thing for me, only because I listen to what people say, and obviously this is what they tell me. Obviously, where the footfall counts, obviously you've got a lot of school children walking backwards and forwards, they're counted on those figures as well. Obviously, they don't go in shops. In other towns, apparently, there's a little app or something they put in shops that actually counts people going in and out of shops, because that's actually the one you want to engage in. It's no good saying, it might be that we have less people footfall, but they might be spending more in the town. And if they're spending more in the town, that's obviously good. You might have high footfall that actually are not going in the shops, they might just be browsing, not spending the money, then that's not good. So to me, it's always important of actually, never seem to actually ask the shopkeepers, is business good or is business
But
not
the thing
good?
is, I guess you could say, if people aren't even in the town, not going to spend money in the town, that has to be a basic assumption that you need.
Well, no doubt, but to me, that's,
Let's, quick question from Councillor Wesley, back to you, and I'm desperate to wrap this up so we've got some other items. But
I just wouldn't want to dismiss that hand, that fall that you actually spotted there, because if you actually look, there's a drop in the November figure as well. I mean, I'm not a retail expert, but obviously November moving into December is prime shopping times, and I imagine must be the important time for town.
I mean, if I may just briefly, Chairman, it's important to recognise the function Daventry plays in the retail hierarchy. Daventry is not a prime retail centre. And therefore what tends to happen is people leave the town to go Christmas shopping, and similarly to travelling special shopping. So you wouldn't expect Daventry to particularly benefit from the Christmas rush in the way you would a larger centre, big shopping centre, whatever. And that's consistent actually, if you look at those numbers, there isn't that much movement across the year. Was this a major retail centre, either out of town or in town, you would expect to see a much more spiky pattern.
And actually, it's consistent on November and December because on each of the 3-year periods it's happened where it's lower than the rest of the year.
Yep.
But actually, it's the fact that it's gone down every year, with December being the most.
It has, but as I say, I think 3 years ago was exceptionally high, and the reasons for that may have been weather related. But the drop between last year and this year, blue and red, is pretty small. And then if you look back through the year, October was higher, September was lower, August was lower, July was higher, June was higher, May was higher, April was lower. It's up and down.
It's up and down. Too fair. Okay, did you have another question, Councillor?
No, all I was going to say, it's going to be interesting when we see the next 3 months figures, but I know we don't get those figures now without specifically asking.
Yeah, but actually, Councillor James, when you come back to this committee maybe in a year's time, perhaps you can update us on those again.
Yes, yeah.
Assuming we've been portfolio.
Because if they've spiked back up, that's fine, but if they've continued to go like that,
Then there's a problem. Go data shows the estimated spending in Daventry town centre shops. We didn't purchase the data for 2011 and 12. But the trend is broadly positive over time, plus 5.5 million in convenience shopping, 3.2 million in comparison shopping over the period. The main purpose of this is to allow us to measure the impact of major changes like Site 5 come on town. So that's the expenditure on shops, is estimated by Go. Differentiating between convenience and comparison goods. Not bad.
Keep going for now, I'll take some questions in there.
Car parking, general car parking occupancy levels, showing that short stay is a little bit tight, long stay is okay.
Do you have previous data on this?
This is the only data.
Or do we only start tracking this year?
Yeah.
We've got data going back for about 15 years.
Right, because this doesn't tell us anything in comparison to any other time period, does it?
No.
So almost on its own, it's almost
on its own.
It shows you,
it's almost useless.
it shows you how
Well,
the
it
year
demonstrates.
tends to pan out.
Yeah. Carry on.
Disabled car parking, Daventry champions itself as champion of the disabled, if you like, and this is a good example of how we do that. Car parking occupancy, disabled, plenty of space there.
Councillor James, next time you bring this data, could you make sure you've got previous years on it as well?
Yes.
This is, I don't think we can't be expected to make any comment on data we can't see tracking, which is why we asked the corporate plan to be changed in the first place. So it's very interesting, but it doesn't really tell us anything in context. We might as well skip past it.
Well, what it does, because we can't all blue badge holders parking, what it does to us is that if these statistics showed us, we would have a real problem if it was more than 100%. But I get your impression it's a performance indicator on its own.
Yeah, I also, I don't understand what the y-axis is again.
You don't understand the...
Occupancy of spaces.
Yeah, well, by counting the total number of blue badge holders, whether they're parked in the disabled space or elsewhere in the car park, it still only shows 70% less occupancy.
Seems to have free spaces.
It shows us there's still capacity.
Tell us what is the formula for the percentage on the y-axis?
It is simply, as I was basically said, it's the number of spaces divided by the number of vehicles displaying disabled banners wherever they're parked. And we use it as a measure to make sure that we're not getting too full, because it's important for disabled people, those impairments, that they can locate space that's convenient for them. Otherwise, there's really no point.
So is a high number good or bad?
If it gets too high, it's bad. If it got above 80-85%, I'll start getting concerned that we look at allocating more disabled spaces in the particular locations we knew there was a pressure. Over the years we've done that quite a bit, where Newland, for example, we picked up that regularly that was getting 100% of disabled places full,
right.
Which meant that if you were another disabled person setting up, you couldn't park. You just couldn't park in a convenient, accessible bay. So we added to the number of spaces there. So that's what this tool is used for. We thought it'd be interesting to the committee, just to give you a perspective on how it is we sort of manage these things on an ongoing basis.
I think it is interesting. I don't think I've seen that data before, so that's interesting. I don't know if other members have or haven't.
You probably haven't, it's management data, but it's irrelevant.
Because obviously you don't want it too low either, do you? Because otherwise you've got wasted parking.
Exactly, so it's
It's an optimum kind of level. Okay, move on, please.
Non-domestic rates. Because of the numbers, all this really tells us, sitting on this table here, is that the majority of growth in rateable value comes from the rugby tendency. They're split up into 5 tendencies: rugby, the Northampton fringe, Harbour fringe.
What does how do you define these things? What's a rugby tendency? What's the definition?
Tendency would be from Derft and everything to the east and west of Derft.
So there's an area strictly mapped out. You describe that as a tendency.
There is. I mean, in terms of the detail behind this, because I probably wouldn't be expected to know. The areas all look quite logical when you look at them on a map. They're actually originally derived from housing market analysis research, which assessed the district, as it says there, into 5 zones and which housing market they form part of. As you'd expect, the Northampton tendency, or Northampton fringe, is quite a large chunk of the district, which tends to operate as part of the Northampton housing market. And we took the view that if you operated as part of the housing market, you are part of that sort of functional economic area. It's likely to be a commuting zone. If you would take a house, part of fringe, anywhere in that zone, it means you're regarding it as a single area for the purposes of your life. And therefore, you might live in Clipston, you might live in Market Harbour itself, and so on. So we took the 5 parts of the district that relate in those ways, and we've treated them as functional economic areas to try and keep a track on what's going on in the district in a sort of real-world way over probably 10 years now. I think we've probably used this track. And this is looking at non-domestic rates valuations. Now they go down because people appeal, of course, and they go up typically because new buildings have put up or valuations occur. And what you probably can't see, between November and December there's about 300,000, 400,000 with Adam. We think that was one box opening at Derft. Gives you some sense of the scale of it. So because there's nearly £100 million worth of development there, it's hidden in the numbers.
I must confess, all those bars pretty much the same to me.
Yeah, because there's so much background. The way we normally track it internally is just look at the top line and then break it down, and then you can plot the chart starting at sort of 95 million, and then the differences are more obvious. So.
I'd like to ask more questions, but I'm going to move on from this one because I'm conscious of time again. Unless somebody's got a burning desire to ask. Let's crack on.
Right. Some other issues: engagement with SEMLET and NUP, which we do. Leaders, and officers. Funding agreement for the A45 Daventry development agreement was an initiative. We are appointing, I mentioned this before, full council and strategy, a strategic economic development officer to assist with engagement, grant applications, rural and urban.
Some French want to replace me with
Then just to sum up,
excellent.
We've got a clear corporate direction, diverse and active programme, a range of data sources are being used, risk management through flexibility, and integration across all of the priorities, DDC priorities.
What does risk management through flexibility mean?
So you probably
something you wrote it. Tell me what it actually means.
Well, risk management through flexibility is to me, entails not ruling out any option, not having a closed mind, taking the view that anything can happen, or some things only can happen. Being flexible.
I mean, the kind of thing Councillor may have had in mind is with site number 5, which we talked about earlier, had we stuck to our guns and said, no, you must deliver as per the original development agreement exactly, then actually nothing would be happening.
Does that risk management does that get included in our formal risk management?
To a degree, it's picked up as a strategic risk, but I mean, this is specifically around developments and as explained, I think the example Simon gave is a good one where the risk of losing development on Site 5 has been mitigated by being flexible in our arrangements and attracting development there in a different form.
And there are two aspects to that. So one of the risk management idea, a qualitative one, like Simon mentioned, or with the development projects, it'd be quantitative as well. They might say, well, let's try this number, or let's try that, and we can see what the residual comes out of that. And I guess that's happened.
Absolutely. I mean, without wanting to delay things, Chairman, but just building on Tony's point, there is the strategic risk register, there are service risk registers, and I go through every month with the relevant service manager his risk register to make sure that we are probably looking at the risk development programme and so on. And that does include things like the quality of the town schools and delivery of the DDL and many others. And then every project, every substantial project has its own register as well. And so similarly, at monthly project board meetings, we are reviewing the risks to the successful execution of that project, particularly, for example, size 5. So that whole risk management approach is built into the councils in the working in a way that almost seems so natural we forget to mention it, but it is there.
Very good, thank you. And then you've got your final bullet point.
Yeah, finally, a couple of examples there. The SIL programme can be used creatively to support economic growth, such as the strategic procurement of public transport to promote innovation. And Overston Hall, for example, which is a heritage project, but will generate economic benefits and so on. You can carry this on.
Can you illuminate more on Overston Hall if it's going to be an economic benefit?
Well, Overston Hall,
what can you tell us about its current status, for instance?
What's currently going on with Overston? Well, it's made secure, isn't it? And we are in talks, we have approaches. You would like to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair to Councillor James, it's really Councillor Chancellor's portfolio, but the point of that message, I understand, is the point, is that we try and dovetail across the council's work such that something which may be a heritage for the Overston Hallways can still deliver important economic benefits, and in that case to it's still a rural area, albeit it's close to Northampton. And there, in terms of Overston Hall, we are at the moment in a position where this is secret. Barringham Homes has got a contract to purchase Overston Hall, which we are confident would not have happened. We're confident the current owners would not have agreed to sale had they not felt the pressure to take action the district council was applying. So we have immediately, just with that, secured some positive forward movement. Our current role is seeking to essentially broker productive relationships that can bring about the best outcome for the hall and for the area. We'll see where that goes, but at the moment I'm fairly optimistic we'll come up with a positive outcome. And whether the hall will be used in an economic way, such as a hotel, whether it will be a residential use, perhaps old people's accommodation, whatever, there will be economic benefits to flow from that. Precisely what they are, I can't answer yet.
Thank you very much. Let's take any final questions. Councillor Frenchman.
This is really not a question, it's really a statement. It's interesting, there's lots and lots and lots of references to Daventry and not one use of the word rural in any of that presentation. I'd also suggest that there's also no mention of the council owning any rural properties and development opportunities, for which KHB could be one. We always seem to look at owning properties, commercial properties, in Daventry. Why aren't we looking at ones in Brixworth or Longbuckby or wherever?
Or actually, can I rephrase that? Are we looking at them?
Well, that's okay.
When we appoint this economic development person, we'll be expecting that person to engage, to initiate some of these things. And yes, there are opportunities. That's why it's called the Rural Transport and Economic Strategy. And it was passed in December. Yeah, that's all on board.
Councillor James, are you telling us to watch this space on that particular one then? Because
yes, I am, because I agree with what Barry is alluding to, that we mustn't with the opinion that everything revolves around Daventry, because it doesn't. I mean, it's 200 yes, square mile.
Says.
I think
And one last point is, which is really more of a general one, your portfolio seems enormous. I don't understand why it's so big and why it's not split, because it seems to me it's too much for one person to adequately keep a watching brief or a detailed handle across that whole set of responsibilities. And to me it seems a no-brainer that it should be more than one person. That's a personal point of view.
Yeah, and that's why I think with these sessions are very useful, because you also have an appreciation of others.
Yes, I didn't realise.
Yeah, as a fellow member. Thank you for that, Councillor French. Any final questions from anybody else on this side? Councillor Larkin?
Yeah, only going back, because I didn't interrupt, but estimated spend
Yes.
you have at the shops. Estimated spend, that's not an actual spend, so you just, when they estimate spend, which I assume they may estimate on football, I don't know.
Can I just come back on that? It'd be helpful, I think, in terms of assumptions here. The estimates Go produce are based on a piece of work they carry out called Where With Shots. It's a detailed, scientifically based customer survey across the UK, and it's pretty much the best data that is available. Clearly, nobody is going to know exactly where every pound is spent. You would have to have very intrusive surveillance in every shop in every town, and that's just completely inconceivable. So it's about as good as that as you can get. It is also the data that is used by the commercial sector when making investment decisions. So it's quite helpful to us to see the data the commercial sector sees, because it enables us to judge the world with their eyes, and therefore understand if what we're doing is having an impact not just in reality, but also in the way that it's seen by those who make investment decisions.
And also, actually, I point out, I mean, the organisations in the town are going to be very transparent about when to disclose this kind of information for commercial confidential. And secondly, just because a business may have a certain level of expenditure doesn't mean it has a certain level of profitability. So there's more that goes into the mix than, to make viability simple than that. And we have to use the best indicators we have. Let me have one final question from you, Councillor.
Okay, yeah, and the other one was car parks. I've had a lot of complaints lately of people shopping elsewhere after driving around 20 minutes, can't get in the car park and have gone. But our car parks are filled a lot more with shoppers, with people who actually work within the town, not actually shoppers within the town.
How do you know?
I've seen Waitrose openly tell you that every one of their staff park in Tesco car park. And then at 5:30 you see them, they go there, well, different ones go and they leave, but they'll openly say that. They'll say that that is where they park. They don't park in Bowen Square because it's short stay, they'll park in Tesco car park. You're going to Tesco, their car park is full, you're going to Tesco and you'll find about the staff and about 30, 40 people in there. So, but this is what I'm saying, that there is not enough car parking space within this
I think
town.
that's, we've got to encourage you.
So it's how do you get it? What time of day do they gather this information? That's what we need to do.
Thursday is done on a Friday morning, which is typically the time Daventry is busiest. When we set this up originally, when it was pre-2000, I think we set it up, so we've got a long day to track. We did some survey work to work out when was the most busy, and I think Friday morning still is, based on what we can see. So it's a pretty good time to test. It's amusing about commercial war between Waitrose and Tesco. Of course, Tesco run their own car park. They're obliged to run it as a public car park. If they're not efficient enough to stop their rival abusing their own car park, well, I leave others to charge.
Timescale for
No, it's 3 hours.
Well, it's quite an interesting competitive strategy to get your employees to park in the opposite. But that's, of course, assuming they do. But
well, they're allowed to make that.
So, can I just, as committee members, please be really careful about when you ask questions that we're not basically leading ourselves into any trouble, first of all, and secondly, also be really focused in terms of think about asking the question as a scrutiny. That's the point we need to make. Useful comments to have on certain things, but let's get straight to the question. What is the question we're looking to drive at here? That's what we need you to be thinking about. Right, I think Councillor James, coming up to 8:30, I think you've finished your shift. Thank you very much. It's not easy, but quite frankly, that's what you get paid for, and that's what we get paid for, to be scrutiny on this. And I make no apologies for our approach. And in fact, sometimes I think we're a bit lightweight on some of our questions, and I think we can toughen up. Hence that little point that I just made. If you wish to go, you may go. But if you want to stay, you can watch the rest of the meeting, and it may well be useful to have around. But the pressure's off you, and you're more than welcome to go. And Simon, you're more than welcome to go, of course.
That's fine, Kevin. I think I might stay for item 6A, if that's all right.
Yes, please. Give me that opportunity should you wish, so we'll crack on. Good. So, the next item up is, as Simon pointed out, 6A, which is a review of DDC's rural economic law. Particularly for the benefit of Councillor Robertson, I think Councillor Howard, maybe you too. What we do at this point is, this is a report coming back, and what we normally do is invite the chairperson of that assignment to present back, and then go through the recommendations. We discuss those, thrash those out, hopefully not too much tweaking, and then we adopt them or otherwise. Once they leave here, they go to management. Management then have a look at it, evaluate them, and so on and so forth, and then the next destination is strategy group. But once it leaves here, we've finished with it, as it were. But we do have a recording table, so we follow it through the system once it leaves. Right, with that, Councillor Frenchman, this one's been a long time in the making. It's actually quite a short report, so I'm sure you can push through it quite quickly.
Yes, well, we like brevity. There were, unfortunately, Councillor Carter's had to leave, so I've lost my support role there. But when we looked at it, excuse me, and spoke to the amount of people that we did, it seemed to us that there was quite a lot of areas that we could look at. When I first drew this up, you'll notice there's 5 recommendations. I originally had about 10, but felt that applying some of Councillor Morgan's dictums to moving past scrutiny. So we whittled those down. Some of them are obviously very obvious, and the first one is probably the number one bugbear of the whole district and everybody in this room about broadband. My only comment just to Wendy is that isn't the map that I was talking about, and I will send you the copy I have of the map that I did want putting in there.
Councillor Frenchman, before we get to the recommendations, can we dwell a little bit more on some of the assumptions and some of the detail here, because there's a couple of things I wanted to pick up. In the introduction section, you talk about the actual quotas, but there seems to be no overall strategy or direction, and much of what is carried out is piecemeal between the different entities. But actually, even in the presentation we had a moment ago from Councillor James, it appears to me as a level of integrated thinking, operation between these models. So how did you come to that comment?
Because what's happened is Councillor Carter and ourselves went out and talked to a lot of different people, and while that comment isn't necessarily aimed specifically at DDC, it seems to me that there are a number of agencies that are working in the rural economic environment that don't seem to talk to each other very effectively. So NEP and SEMNEP, from what reading between the lines, they're more at war with each other than working together as allies. Obviously things have moved on at DDC with the thank you the appointment of an economic. When I first started doing it, there wasn't one, I don't think. So, things have slightly overtaken us from the point of view.
Which is good news, actually.
Well, yes, I mean, it does make some bits redundant, but it does have, and one assumes that is it a he or a she?
It's not either.
It's neither.
We're in the process of recruiting.
The person, I assume, will then act as more of a focal point for some of the engagement and some of the coordination.
Yes.
When we spoke to SEMLEP, and they sung the praises of Daventry very highly, but it appeared to us that Daventry were quite unique. Chris Miller is involved with them very heavily.
Because it's important to have a leader who is actually involved in this.
And he does sort of cascade stuff down, but it seems to get lost in the system a lot of the time. It doesn't get pounced on by a rural economic person at this end to then grab it and run with whatever that outcome might be.
So in actual fact, there's a lot of information, a lot of bodies, but some of this could be coordinated and brought together, for us anyway, by the role holder going forward.
I mean, for instance, Acre, they produce quite a lot of interesting information that Anne and I had never seen before. And they had a whole directory of community transport for the whole Northamptonshire, not just our area. I was thinking, well, I never knew about that, and no one else seems to know about it. And it's just it's a directory that's being updated. They've also got a very nice booklet that they've produced about helping parish councils achieve affordable housing outcomes for their villages, or their parishes, I should say. And I'm guessing that not one, or very few councillors know about that. So these are all things that are produced and people spend a lot of time and money presenting and preparing and just disappear.
But they're not necessarily very widely known initiatives.
And I don't know what I was trying to grapple with was how it would jump from Acre in this example to me. And it may help now with a focal point here, and we should be talking. It struck me that the dialogue should be two ways: Acre and talk to us, but I'm not sure we talk to them. I mean, Simon might say differently, but
Simon, do you have anything to add to this? I mean, obviously SMT have a look at it.
Certainly, in terms of NEPS and 7, we're very heavily engaged. I mean, I sit on NEPS, 7NEPS EDA group, I'm on NEPS, 2 of NEPS strategic boards. We have representation of all of NEPS strategic boards, 2 different officers and different members. So there is a substantial amount of and quite close working. 2 of our officers sit on the North and West Daventry leader action group, and help therefore allocate the rural grants from the leader programme. So that goes on. Just in terms of Acre and affordable housing, it wouldn't actually be the economic development officer, it would be the affordable housing officer who'd been recently reappointed, but the contact is certainly there.
I think I don't disagree with what you're saying, Simon, but the feedback I'm getting is that the officers go and you do what you have to do, but it doesn't go anywhere else. Members aren't briefed on that.
Yeah, maybe Simon, what are the answers? I mean, it's not a recommendation here yet, but is it maybe particularly for newer members anyway, is even to understand how all these entities fit together? Because I think that's the kind of thing that needs refreshing from time to time. I mean, could we have this, maybe not even a recommendation, but as a kind of a workshop or something, or a training?
There is a training session coming up, I think, in March, I think it must be, which will give an opportunity for precisely that, Chairman. So good. That is in train.
Because it sort of feels, on some level, it feels quite a big statement to say that there's no real structure or direction of which is carried out piecemeal. I mean, that might be a perception, and it might be a perception for the right reasons. But
stirring the net.
Yeah, but is it a genuine conclusion we could arrive at?
Well, what appears to happen is that outside agencies of the sort I mentioned talk to certain people, whether it's an economic person, an officer, council, and the perception is it doesn't go any further. So if you said to me, Barry, do you know what SEMLEP are doing with Daventry? The answer is no, because you don't tell us that I know about. We're never briefed on that. So if one of my constituents asked me about something about rural development, I haven't got that information to tell them about.
Well, this might be fixed actually when we have the new person on board, but that is a very useful filter to get all of this network working into a place where we can rebuild a strategy and development from it. Is that the objective? I mean, if you were to go and look at this new person's role, what's in their job description? Is this kind of bringing together in there?
It is, literally, we've written the job description. The role we call strategic economic development, because what we don't want to do is replicate the business support work that is done by others. That will be wasteful and frankly not very effective. There's always a danger of proliferation of business support activities that just cause confusion. The previous government, as in 2 governments ago, had a deproliferation agenda which sounded to me like sort of nuclear warhead, but actually it was about trying to stop there being 100 different business support programs. The current government has a very similar agenda to try and keep things simple for businesses, so we're not trying to replicate that. What we are trying to do is be in a position to strategically influence these organisations, have our own clear understanding of economic needs, opportunities and forward plans, and therefore draw money and investment into the district as part of that communication to the economy.
Thank you, Tom. I think so. It may well be that that's the perception. I don't want to dwell too long on that point, but I wanted to flush it out. An actual fact that we've got a workshop coming up, you say, Simon, and the job description of the new person is using that as a basis in terms of what you've just described, and therefore we have some springboard. Let's
we used to have a rural officer, didn't we?
We've never had a rural officer. I've worked here a long time.
I thought, okay, I heard that we had them.
Let's open the floor quickly further. Does anybody have any specific queries or comments which are very focused on the content before Councillor Frenchman moves us to the recommendations? Obviously you've all pre-read it before tonight, so it'll be on your mind. Councillor Robertson, I appreciate you don't have a copy, but just enjoy it anyway.
I also appreciate that I haven't read it.
Yeah, I appreciate you haven't. But Councillor Randall.
Are we asking that on the whole thing now?
Yes, basically, I wanted to focus on that particular point because it confused me, and I wanted to understand it a bit better, which we've done. I understand we've got some solutions there for that. But actually, quick sweep through the document. Have you any burning questions before we move on to the recommendations?
Well, only the rural transport bit, because I come across some people last week who said, there's no bus into my village. I had to get a taxi here today. And how much it costs me, and I'm thinking, how do we get these people? And what do we look at when we're building new houses? I know that obviously then we might organise a bus service, but actually, how do we decide what time the bus comes in? Is it for the people? Does that all fit in with that?
Well, I was explaining to Councillor Morgan beforehand that Daventry has much more powers at its disposal than I think we know about. That makes sense. And we've never really taken full advantage of that. We've also, with SIL and various other Section 106 agreements, we've had bus services set up. I think going around the Daventry Centre one, I think, was it D3 or whatever it was called?
Right, yeah.
I think you told me there was nobody ever on it.
Yeah, one that goes through certain places, yeah.
And the Durft one was a problem, but they changed it to fit in with the shift pattern.
We help persuade stagecoach to do that.
Yeah, which seems a ridiculous thing. They weren't doing it to start with.
It does. I mean, to be fair to stagecoach, they've now developed that further. They put on radar ranger services and later at night, and they're taking the commercial risk on that. They can see there's a good chance of impact for them. So, but nonetheless, they have taken that step. So again, very just
yes, and I think that reflects on good overall management of that. And as we look at some of the new developments, there's the SUEs especially, Monksmoor, Middlemore type developments, which are pretty big, then they should become self-sustaining to some extent in enabling bus services to go to them, and by extension, if there's a case for it, to possibly go a little bit further. So it may be that places like Welton could get a better service because there's a better bus service into Monksmoor.
Let's have a quick comment from Councillor Wesley. Councillor Wesley?
It is really, really interesting just looking at these problems. And to me, the communication things are just absolutely key to this. Communication does include this broadband thing here, and I noticed on the recommendations it's urge NCC to get on with it, and I know it's been an issue across the whole country, but this map here, it just seems so woolly and so uninformative as to what anyone's getting, when and how. It's sort of of parts of this area may possibly get something. I mean, I don't know the difference between superfast and fibre on this, but it's just so critical if rural business is going to thrive and develop, that they've got this group, you know, a guy setting up in his gardening shed. He can run so much from almost nothing and generate money for this district, for his village, for himself. Guy or woman, obviously, sexist there. And it's just so, to me, that is the critical element of this, to make rural development work, is the indication that, yes, I think transport sectors are important, but if you've got this in place, it's...
and of course, actually, you could argue if you have more reliance on broadband, you don't need to travel so much, of course, which does have the impact of...
And it just concerns me, because I've used these maps myself to try and understand what's happening in this town, and I find it incredible that the town of Daventry doesn't have full access to this, let alone our rural places. And reading this legend here, it's just rubbish. It's gobbledygook rubbish, and and we've got to press for that to happen, for anything to go forward in this. We're a rural county, we're a rural district, and without that, we're just going to be left behind. And I think we just got to focus again. And I'm not sure that recommendation is strong enough, really. Well, maybe if we do have powers and other powers are available to us, maybe we should proceed.
Thank you, Councillor. Let's move on to recommendations, and I think probably the most logical way to do this is do one at a time, and then quickly, basically, go yes each one.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just say something before you do that?
Yes, please.
Is that yesterday, Anne came across the CLA, the Country Landowners Association, who put out some very interesting information on rural businesses, and they've also formed an all-party council at Parliament looking into rural businesses. So this information, number one, is universal service, broadband service. The other one too is the planning system, lots of investment. So I don't know if you've seen this information.
There is something else actually about developers having to play, the telecommunications providers having to play a greater role in new developments to make sure they're up and running earlier, which is also getting the press.
I mean, there's an issue at Buckton Fields at the moment, and you'd think they'd get super fast broadband as a matter of course, but it's not as easy as you think. And that's right, in effect, in an urban area. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. No, I think it's worth pointing out. And there's also, I haven't followed it myself to be fair, but there's the buses bill.
There is a buses bill.
Buses bill. Have you considered anything from that? No, I mean, it wasn't.
Chair, the buses bill is essentially to allow bus franchising across England.
Yes.
Bus franchising. As in Greater London. Typically that would be run by probably a mayor or a combined authority, although it's been also offered to Cornwall Council. Whether it will ever apply here is not necessarily a question, I think.
Right, so it may or may not have any impact on us. Okay, thank you. So let's move to the recommendations. Let's take each one as we do, and then we'll just basically say yes if we agree or not. So the first one then, Councillor Frenchman, that Northamptonshire County Council be urged, critical word there is be urged, particularly Councillor Wesley, to pursue superfast broadband for the whole district.
Can we get that sorted?
At the earliest possible time. Does anybody have any dissent from this, or are we happy to recommend this? Just needs a full stop at the end of it, and that's about it. I think that's what it needs to fix it. Councillor Rundle.
Well, only the fact that, yeah, we can urge them doesn't really mean a lot, does it?
What would
We can urge them, but...
Well, what would you do if you didn't urge them? What other means do we have?
Well, when we signed into this, did they not have a time frame? Did they not say to give us any time frames at all?
Councillor Robertson, make a point of please. Yeah, Councillor Rundle.
Did they not give any time frames of when this was going to be introduced?
Councillor Howard, do you know, can you throw a ball like this, do you remember?
It was 2017 the date that we was given. Going to you, sorry, when you're going to your back, Barry, about the money, we haven't released money yet. It was £200,000, we haven't released it. I am at the moment got a meeting arranged that I do want to bring something to full council, like a motion, because I'm not happy with what's going on with all of this. I wasn't aware of this paper that you've been working on, but I'm on the same lines issue that we are not happy as a council and we need to do something about it.
Okay, so in actual fact, the first one that Northamptonshire County Council be urged, it's interesting because you can get too into detail on this. I mean, basically it's DDC urges them to get a move on. That's what we're making.
Yes.
But
sorry to interrupt. Can we hold them to ransom a little bit over the money we haven't released yet?
Well, we're not paying them.
Yeah.
So
don't pay them the money we're going to pay them.
Yeah. And we're not happy. And I'm not happy with my portfolio. I've spoken to the officers about it, the management team, and the leaders backing me to put something to full council. So that will come out next week.
So, but actually, as a recommendation from this committee, it's sound. Councillor Leslie.
I almost would like something on some sort of clarity of progress and clarity of progress.
I might possibly interject, Chairman. We would all love that.
I know.
I have almost torn my own hair out.
I'm sure.
Trying to get clarity from NCC on this point. You can ask for clarity. You will be wasting your breath.
Well, can I just say something? I mean, as far as clarity goes, that is not clarity. There's no clarity in that at all. Like, what is what? What does it mean? It's like, don't say some bits in this place possibly will get something, some bits in this have got something, and some haven't. It's just like saying we've got some broadband.
Can I say to you the map I want to put in there, which isn't that one?
Oh, okay.
Because Wendy and I got misunderstood. Actually shows the reception as it stands now in the areas.
So there's a better graphic which you could use. So in actual fact, can we quickly agree then to go for the first point based on that? Okay. Number one, we all agree on that one. So that will go as a recommendation. Let's move on to the. So have it as it is. Actually, Wendy, for the notes with the full stop at the end. Number two, that DDC sets up on a trial basis a district tourism forum with integrated marketing incorporating the Love Daventry campaign. Now you can see you've arrived at this conclusion from the way you presented the data, particularly about particular sectors. Does anybody have any comments on this one?
Yeah, only going back to when we did some training on this, that it was timeframes. The comment was there was no timeframes on our recommendation, so it could just whenever. So, do we need to be a bit tighter?
Yeah, I think the whole idea of having a smart recommendation, if you like, is a valid one. But the issue we have, to some extent, is we can put a time on it when it leaves here, but it obviously has to go through a number of stages, and that may impact it. So we almost have the management team sense check it, and then it goes back through strategy, etc., maybe with more definition. And of course, you can get the opportunity to speak on it at strategy in a different respect. So but basically, let's say, you are right, Councillor Randall, in terms of the principle, a trial, what can you tell us, what is the objective, what is the aim of this district tourism forum? How do you think it might look?
It's what's the word? It's like not a tourist information centre, but something a bit more than that. Because if people like the main stately homes in the county are sitting on it, it can be allied with people who run hotels and bed and breakfast places. They can be allied to restaurants, pubs, and that sort of thing, which can also be allied to the food producers that we now have around the district. And if we can get an integrated, the staycation type offer out there, incorporating all those things, I think we could try and, what we're trying to do is attract people to the rural area, basically, because most of these attractions are not in the town. I mean, Daventry has a very nice little centre, but it's not in its own right a tourist attraction. Whereas people go to Althorpe, they'll drive there, they'll spend an hour there, 2 hours there, then they'll drive home again. They haven't been anywhere else.
And Councillor Frenchman's important. So when this lands with senior management team for them to formulate for the next stage, do you think they've got enough understanding of what you're intending to be able to make that happen? To be able to form a conversation, particularly if you've got a rural economic person coming on board. Is there enough clarity to say, right, this is what we have in mind? Can you think about opportunities here?
Well, as you and I had the discussion before, and I wrote it, so I understand what I mean.
That's right. You have to
It's to other people to tell me whether they.
I think, Chairman, if I may, just one point again, it's not a rural economic person we're running, it's a strategic economic person who will deal with rural issues. But
sorry, getting too excited.
It's more your bag, I would think, and I'm happy to work with you if you want to.
We said this 2 years ago.
To develop it, but we perhaps need a bit more than just you and me sitting over a pint chatting about it.
I think we've got the idea. When we have our economic development officer in post, this will be one of their tasks to carry this forward, and we will do our level best to make it.
So we have enough comprehension of the recommendation.
I think so. It's like anything of being here, actually hearing what Councillor Fletcher was saying.
That's very helpful. Yeah, you're welcome to come to every meeting. So. Okay, so are we all happy for number 2 to go as it is? Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Number 2. Good. The third one is DDC seeks improvements in rural transport to support the economic and social fabric of the rural areas, including by working with NCC and through use of resource. I confess I thought this one was a little bit ambiguous and a little bit confusing, and particularly with, is it realistic, what's the background, particularly with the NCC funding, etc., what constraints are in place, but open it to the floor for consideration. Councillor Frenchman, more than first instance.
Well, one of the obviously I looked at the rural transport with Abigail some months ago, and one of the constraints that a lot of people are having is getting to work, getting to education especially, and getting to I suppose you call it leisure or shopping or whatever. Some people think shopping is leisure. And who's going to help me with this, as a number of her villages have lost their bus service completely in recent months. So the dichotomy is that we all like to live in the countryside, we all like to live in the beautiful bucolic countryside, but then you can't get anywhere if you do. And there is things like social isolation, which is a big problem for the older people in the villages and the young to some extent. I did, as part of the rural transport thing, look at Wheels to Work for younger people, and I don't quite know where we've got with that, but I think it involves us in some money that we probably haven't got.
Because Councillor, that's the important thing, isn't it? Because we've had a rural transport.
This really just follows on.
It just follows on from that. But well, the question is the one we had beforehand sufficient to keep us moving if you saw some action on it? Because I'm not sure if this takes us anywhere new, and even the way I'm not necessarily sure, but and the way the recommendation is worded doesn't quite work.
The whole area of rural transport is like wading through mud. Is that you know where you want to get to and you know what you want to do, but it's damn hard to get there. And the faster or harder you try, the more effort it takes to do it. And I'm not sure how much effort Daventry, both the councillors and the officers, have actually put behind the effort to improve the rural transport of this district.
Councillor Frenchman, Tony, sorry to put you on the spot here, because we, at our last, according to the plan, our planogram, the item number 7, what is DDC, is on influence over public transport, recommendations implemented 2 at 10/12/2015. So basically that tells me very recently we've got action that's moved forward on these.
We have actually got.
Could you recall that?
Well, we've got the action plan on our papers. It's the next paper after, but that is showing green status. So we have delivered the actions that were agreed by strategy group, or recommended by strategy group and agreed by council. I think the updates. If you turn, it's on page 35 of the papers.
Can I just jump to action, because I want to make sure we don't duplicate it, because we've already got a tracking note already for that for 1 year hence.
But the updates since last time are in red. So there's an update on recommendation 1. There's also one over the page on recommendation 2.
10th of December, the council approved and adopted the rural transport and economic strategy, which actually encompasses these activities already. So, do we need to have it again as another recommendation when it's already should be operationalised? And we now should have the measures to be able to go back and say nothing's happened from where we were when we promoted that. So that was your paper last time, actually.
It was,
Yeah.
I was just looking at it in isolation in response to the rural economy.
Yes.
And it's still a problem.
Yes.
From talking to people there. And I needed to bring it up. To say that it is a factor in that. If I hadn't had a recommendation, people might think it's nothing to do with that.
Do you mind if we would actually, but bearing in mind, because we're actually in, sorry, I'll confuse things. We're in danger of recreating that very issue we spoke about in the introduction, where you've got overlapping issues and you've kind of forgotten stuff you already had, particularly as we're so fresh actually since it came through. Tony?
The action or recommendation 2 really is around promoting transport services in partnership with the county. But looking at some of the text there, the bottom of the first page is update on the 11th of August. Council will be working with NCC as a stakeholder on the projected project funded from the Department of Transport, Total Transport Pilot Fund. And then there's further initiatives over the page. So I think there is evidence there that we are
activities
working with the county on
can I suggest, thank you, Tony. Can I suggest, Councillor Bridger, because we've got here 1 year review, December 2016. Anyway. Yeah. So we can basically go. That basically Dave said it is happening. We've got it in the document. Straight away in 10 months' time, we come back and evaluate it. So do you mind? So rather than duplicating, if we take that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the review.
That's okay. Thank you.
So we're removing 3.
We're removing 3, yeah. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm just taking in turns. We just focus diligently. And number 4, initiatives to attract higher skills jobs are examined. I had a little before the meeting, I must confess, we had a quick conversation about this, about the wording, and I personally got the impression it was, again when I reread it before the meeting, it was initiatives are examined, whereas really I think we're doing more than examining initiatives, we're actually exploring them and investigating them and maybe bringing them to fruition. Because I kind of got the sense it was just... do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you mind if we just reword that for the sake of clarity?
No.
So it becomes that DDC investigates... explores, that DDC explores, that's it. So explores initiatives, thank you, that attract higher skilled jobs.
I wanted to put paid, but I wasn't doing that.
Or employment.
Yes, but I think that's better. Higher skilled employment.
Yeah. Opportunity.
Well, I think employment's nice and clean. I think we know what we mean. Yeah, I think that's
a good one.
Good. Okay. Are we happy with that then?
Yeah.
So just take from the top when you make sure we've got it correct.
That DDC explores initiatives that attract higher skilled employment.
Happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. So slight reword on number 4. That's okay, substantively. And the final one, we might just have to come back to the start of this. The use of village halls as potential rural business hubs to be investigated, including options of financing and grants. Can we simply start that off by saying that it's got to, I think we're going to relate it to DDC again, actually.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it might just need a but before we go into the reword, what about the concept? People understand the concept from the thinking?
I think it's good. I think it brings the community back together again, so no, I think it's good.
Chair, I might just offer something there. Wouldn't it be better to say village facilities rather than just village hall?
Yes.
Excellent. That's a very good input, Councillor. In fact,
That's the word I was looking for, thank you.
village facilities.
Yeah.
Very good, yeah. So it's very simple. So basically, but what do we expect DDC to do? So a person, let's use this person again, the new role holder. What will that person have to do? How will this look to them as a recommendation?
Well, can I go back to the original assumption was that there's a lot of people like myself who work on their own at home, and occasionally I need different facilities than those that my house can provide, so meeting facilities or whatever. So I thought, well, where, the serviced office is basically what I was looking at here, managed offices, and therefore it struck me that it was also a good revenue stream for the village village facilities.
What does, within that recommendation, what does DDC actually have to do?
Facilitate it.
Facilitate. So that's the key role we're asking them to do. So is it that DDC
facilitate?
I'm sorry, it feels like we're crafting this, but
it's a facilities. I don't know.
Chair, I think it's implied that the action is by DDC because the decision will be taken by council ultimately.
It will, yeah, but I just want to be really clear who's doing what here, particularly on some of these, because we've got so many bodies down here as well. And I think that was the very point earlier on. There was many bodies and we wasn't sure who was doing what, which is one that you were right, it is implied, but I think I just want to kind of take it from the top as a proper statement. And actually, I think if you get it clear in your mind that DDC have to do something, I think it helps the rest of it flow. Councillor Wesley and Councillor Randall.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. I think it's sort of this hub. Let's use the village hall or community building, whatever it may be. And you can go along and do your presentation and make teas and coffees. And we've got a broadband facility there, subject to the map, etc. I do think it's a really, really good idea. But it's how the DDC does that, and facilitates. Because to me, it's a little bit parish council involved on that as well.
There's a lot of parishes and villages involved.
Because that just seems right. I'm not saying the DDC can't help in that, but I would say some sort of combined item with that, because invariably I'm suggesting that's probably where the meetings are.
The way that I thought it would work is that DDC would have some sort of template or blueprint for how it would work, and perhaps a list of suppliers, if approved suppliers,
purchase or a bulk purchase,
and would also suggest ways that the parish council could set it up and perhaps support them, because there might need to be a grant funding of some description for perhaps a computer or a telephone or something like that.
I think the back of the recommendation is very good actually, and I think it's basically what you say. Can we simply reword the front so it becomes that DDC facilitate the use of village facilities as potential rural business hubs, and then basically include options for, and then take on what you've got already here. Does that help you, Wendy, there?
Could you say that again?
Yeah. So basically that DDC facilitate the use of village facilities as potential rural hubs, including options for financing and grants, service officers, by meetings, etc. And then we'll pass it over to the management team and see how that can be worked up as, again, without particular reasons. Is that enough to make sense to you? Good. Right, so Councillor Randall, yes, thank you for waiting. Sorry, I had my head down there studying the words.
No, yeah, I know. I was just reading that last one, almost that it's like more of a promotion that DDC would aid with.
Well, as I see,
and actually hold some sort of directory so they'd know what businesses were there, or people would contact DDC to say, I've moved into the village, is there something going on? And they would sort of give them some information rather than...
Well, my take on this will be, particularly of our portfolio holder area, we've had risk-based flexibility, we've had open for business, we've had enabling facilitating, and really I think we'll put it back to the team and say, right, here's our recommendation because of this issue we've identified a core issue, we'll go away and see what you can do within that framework and come back. That could be one of those options, blueprints, templates, etc. Okay with that? Right, I'd like to conclude on that one. So to recap, we've got 4 items recommended by this committee. We've removed the third one because we've already got it in the system. We're going to evaluate it later in the year to avoid duplication. What time's the witching hour again? 9:15, gosh. Right, we're not far off actually now. This is the big item. So, thank you very much to Councillor Frenchman and Councillor Carter for that piece of work and everybody who supported. I'd like to say it's very good having Councillor Frenchman on the committee. He does deliver. Thank you very much. It's appreciated, and you do give us a good perspective. Very much. We enjoy having you on the committee. It's very helpful. Let's go to the next item. Simon, you go. Take your opportunity.
Have a read of that and then give it to Simon.
Thank you, Simon, for your inputs. Very helpful.
Go look on their website.
I suggest that you do a week
That's bedtime.
Right, so it's not a scary thing. In 5 minutes I'm going to call for more time, but let's see how we get on. You'd be pleased to know, I think, under the circumstances, that Councillor Cribbin, as we know, is not here, so he won't be able to present, so we'll jump past that item. We'll see if we can get Councillor Cribbin along the next one. The next one is customer satisfaction low response rate. On this one we're going to have a very short update. There is an update in your pack from Councillor Wesley, but that's only to support. Councillor Wesley, can you give us a quick update please? And can you make sure you promise to us that you're going to have this ready for the next meeting?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. It's really important that each committee member delivers one project minimum.
No, I said slow progress on this, and it is a brief review. I've been around all the backgrounds of this, and I think in a very brief discussion with the chair a few weeks ago, urging me not to overextend on this one, because reading around it started to take on a life of its own. So I've got to bring that back.
You have to be careful of the scope, which is why you have the document.
So yeah, I've sort of understood that, and I will be.
You start with this and you end up taking on Europe. That's what
Yes, it does look a little bit like that. So yeah, I will cut that down. Hopefully, I have got 2 other members on board with me, although the meetings have been difficult to arrange up to this point with Christmas and my son coming home and then they're going on holiday.
It's not Christmas now, though. It's like it's in February.
That's fine. But I have also been away. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying it's not for the one who are trying, and it's not for the one who are doing everything. So
we've seen you've got Councillor Howard, Amy, and Councillor Connors on there as well.
Yes.
So it's the first time I think both of those have been on a working group.
Yeah, that was part of the brief to some new.
It was absolutely. District councillors that aren't involved in projects, we need to engage them, and we need a broad suite of people.
So I've got a load of discussion points for them as soon as I manage to arrange that meeting, which I hope to do this week.
Good. So you know the deadline. You have to work backwards. But please make sure you give me the report,
of course,
as early as possible, because it's very difficult for me to. I also have a full-time job,
of course you do,
and I like to be able to give more of an input, but I can't always do it if I get it late. But anything else from you?
Not really. Just what's in there, just as I've written in the report.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to bluster it out because what's there is there. So
exactly. The 5th of April, isn't it? I believe. Yeah, it does actually say in the document as well, so it says the next meeting is on the 5th of April. So you've got to work backwards on that one. You almost need to get something in. It's very sort of about a month's time actually, isn't it? 5 weeks time.
Yes.
Because of Easter. Yeah, Easter as well. Yeah. 21st of March. So you haven't So you haven't got much time actually, and it has to come to me first if you want some decent feedback as well. Well, not just decent with the SMT as well. But. Right. Okay. Let's move on then. The next one is Councillor Randall. You're going to give us a scoping document update. I have got a little bit of feedback, but. Does anybody have any? Actually, no. I think it's self-explanatory. Right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, and it's a bit repetitive. So sorry about that.
It's kind of how I've structured it, really, to be fair. But does anybody have any questions on this one?
There's no. Sorry.
Please do. Yeah.
There's no question about if they're empty because of a reason. What sort of property are you looking for? Or are we just looking purely?
No, really, we're just looking at No, unless you think there should be something else in there, but it was just looking at empty commercial buildings, making sure enough's done to bring them back into use if they're not in use, and, just a reason why really. And
so this is really the corresponding portfolio order is here.
Yes.
This is really going to have to play a role in supporting this project, Councillor James, and just really this goes back to the heart of what we're saying tonight. Really, you might build new stuff, you might do new stuff, but what about the existing infrastructure, the resources? How can we bring them, keep them alive, keep them sustainable, keep them viable? What initiatives do you have?
Big and big ones, small ones. Is there a way that you can split them and make two, or whatever it may be?
Absolutely, yeah. How do you keep it? We really want to see more evidence of that coming through, I think, as well. I've got a couple of points I'd like to raise on it here, actually, Wendy. And again,
I've got two councillors come on board now.
Good. Let's get to that one first. Then, who are they?
Councillor Patchett and Councillor Auger.
Oh, very good. Councillor Patchett should provide some interesting dimensions. When we had the previous ones, he certainly was fearless in terms of his examination. And then we've got Councillor Auger, very good, new perspective, new councillor. And you took on board the point about Councillor Lynn Taylor, Daventry Town Council. It's important, it's okay to have input from other stakeholders, but they're not on the core group.
Okay.
Is that okay? So we'll take her off.
Okay.
Councillors, but basically she becomes a sort of almost like one of the other people in the group.
And obviously she's known because she sits on other group here.
That's fine. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I obviously, even personally, I know Councillor Lynn Taylor. I have no issue with Councillor Lynn Taylor in terms of her personality, and I think it's just the fact that we just need them to be DDC led. And what I initially concerned was the fact that you hadn't got any district councillors on it other than yourself. So that was not appropriate. That's great. Good feedback from other sources and stakeholders would be perfect. Let's just stop quickly. Are we happy to carry on?
I am.
Happy to carry on? Yeah. I think you only get a vote if you're actually on the committee as well as you're free to. Very good. Okay, so we've took authorisation. We'll carry on. Hopefully you'll stay just a bit longer. The other point I wanted to raise, Councillor Reynolds, again, please get this in good time. From November we want to keep this momentum on this committee. And because it was quite late in, I did have a couple of points, and that is to raise, which were in key document sources to be reviewed. There's some other data there. It says in the comment is revenues and benefits may hold relevant data, as non-occupation tends to affect liability for non-domestic rates, is one of the comments that I saw on this. So what we'll do is we'll just insert that comment into the box after today, please, Wendy. And the other one was a comment from Simon, actually. Witnesses to be invited in the rationale for this. You didn't put any rationale in for the stakeholders you invited. And also, actually, what I would like to do there is this is where I'd like to see Councillor Lynn Taylor's name in this box. Because then you could say why you'd invited her along to the panel, and she could be a kind of semi-team member or informant, if you like. Okay. So put in there, Councillor Taylor, but you also always need to give us a reason why you do what you're doing. Tony.
Just on the same box, actually, I just question why Maria Taylor's.
Right, okay, that's quite an easy one. That's only because if it was a commercial property with living accommodation attached, that is empty. I didn't know whether that would fall under a remit if it was let out as, a separate venture, or whether it come out as one venture. And I thought, obviously, Maria deals with housing, so I didn't know if it was relevant. But until I don't know how many have got limited that may be empty with living accommodation above, or how that sort of all fits together. Because I didn't know if some, like say it was a shop with a flat above. I didn't know if you rent the flat, you have to rent the flat with the flat above, or whether they could be split. So as you get a rental.
You need to do some more facts.
Tony? Can I suggest that you, rather than having Maria, you have Michael Pullen, who's the Revenues and Benefits Manager.
Right, okay,
very good.
That's fine.
Because he'll be able to provide you information on non-domestic rates, and also from council tax revenues that accommodation.
Right, okay.
Wendy, what you need to do is you note it, but in terms of the scoping document, when it goes into any other format, Wendy will just make the amendments to the document.
Thank you.
So you've got that one, Wendy, and you've also got the Councillor Taylor goes in that box. That gives us some justification. Also, that comment about revenues can be pulled into that box as well. The one is that okay? And obviously we've got 2 new councillors in those boxes as well. Is that okay to make those amendments, Wendy? And I've got one more question here. When you say task panel purpose and value of work, it says here to review and ensure everything that can be done to bring empty commercial buildings back into the market has been explored. But my question was, how will you know when everything has been done? How can it be
How
done?
will I know that it's all been explored? And things
How do you know enough has been done? What sort of measures will you have in place? How will you find out if... Because you said to review and ensure that everything can be done to bring empty...
Yeah, so...
How do you know when everything has been done?
That could be done. Well, if you come across, well, I suppose once you find out what the empty buildings, where the empty buildings are and what they are, then you'd look at things like how long have they been up for rent for, out for lease for. If it's a long-term lease, then perhaps go back to, because obviously it's every commercial building, not just our commercial building.
Not only those that we
So
own.
it's say, you know, I don't know, Alkins and Harrison's have got one. I could say, have you had any interest? What sort of interest? You know, small speak something like that to say, well, we have had lots of interest, but the building's too big. So have we done enough to explore what we can do? Or does that come under our remit? Do we give advice? So many questions out there that I really don't know.
Okay. So you don't know what the questions are yet, and you can go fact find and
Yes.
establish the questions, and then you'll understand.
Yeah.
But still, whether enough has been done is still subjective. But obviously you'll flesh that out with the questions.
Yeah, because then if everything had been done and it's still just not, nobody wants it, it could be a case of just that person as long as they've done as much as they can do.
Yes.
And you know, and all this, everything that I find out has been followed. You can't do any more than that. So they have done as much as they could be done. Advertising's been done, you know, things like that.
You might think I play semantics sometimes.
No, I don't.
I don't mean to. Well, I do mean to actually, but I don't mean it to be semantics. I mean it to be questions, so we understand how we understand things. So, because we need to go. Because if you go to Councillor James, say, "Have you done everything you can?" No disrespect to you, you'll probably say, "Yes, I have." But you need to really understand, has he? How will you know when he has? So that's what we really answer. So really get under the skin of it. That's what I want you to do. Councillor Wensley.
Yes, to be fair to Councillor Randall, I would say that you'd expect as part of the report to say these are the things that you should look. These are the elements that you should look at to ensure that everything's been done. And then we might say, "Oh, have you thought of?"
Exactly. Well, actually, I think expecting a cap of what is done.
I think that's part of the report. I think that is actually part of the report. I understand what you're saying, Chair. I think Councillor Randall should actually.
Look, what we need Councillor Randall to do is have that critical analysis of what she sees and just thinking about the question in a different way. Because actually, you may say everything has been done, but I would always argue not everything is always done.
No.
That's the point. Yeah. Okay, very good. Does anybody have any other final questions on Tony?
Sorry, Chairman, just semantics on the same point, really.
Yes, please. Why not?
Ensure everything that can reasonably be done.
That's fine.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well done. Can we...
That's a good officer response.
Get out of that.
It's great to play semantics at 20 past 9 p.m. and still keep going, isn't it? Well done, Tony. Always good to have you fresh inputs.
Cost us any money.
Right. Are we... one final thing on this, Wendy. This final report is due on the 7th of June, 2 meetings away. We do need to have an interim in writing, please, at the next meeting. It's only a page, very clear where you are on the project, please.
Okay.
I don't want this to drift.
And can I just ask one question while I've got the portfolio held here? Councillor James. I assume DDC have got a list of all of our owned empty properties, but not of anybody else's empty properties, or would we have? We'd have both. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I can pull them on.
Right, okay, no, that's good then.
He sounds like a good man.
That's good.
Councillor James, yeah?
I would imagine that the revenues and benefits would have a list of all those properties which are currently not paying anything. In other words, probably, and in the overwhelming majority of cases, it'll be vacant. What I think Councillor Randall probably needs to know is how many of these properties are vacant and what is the reason for them being vacant? Are they not paying rent? areas because they're empty and they're a listed building, and that's the reason they're not being raised. That sort of thing. To understand more about the nature of empty properties, if you like. And, some may be empty because they're beneficial use.
Well, I think that's what we want to get to an understanding of. Is the right property portfolio?
It should have all of that information and be able to give you the exact reason why that property is becoming empty and not producing, non-domestic value. As I say, whether it's because it's a listed property which is exempt, or whether it's often it currently belongs to somebody who's a bankrupt or something, and that's the reason there's nothing coming. All of those sorts of reasons, that property may be, empty and not contributing. Revenues and benefits should have that information.
No, it's not there. I think you can suggest. So the data should be there. So go and look at it with your forensic head on. Understand how it operates and manage the system around it. So are we happy to adopt this work programme for Councillor Randall? Yeah, good. Thank you. So that's adopted. Councillor Randall, over to you. Remember the deadlines for the interim report is quite pressing, and please send it to me so I can have a look at it as well in good time, so I can also give you feedback. Right, and crack on as soon as you can, please. These things soon come round. The next item on the agenda is, that was D, now we're on to E, the rolling work programme. This is the lovely document you have, which looks like it gets smaller every meeting. Sorry for those of you who don't have a copy, but it's this matrix document. We basically put down the left-hand side the code, the unique reference number, the number for the project, then what the project is, and then all the various details as it goes through the system. What I've done here to draw your attention to is two things. Number one is a very simple colour coding system change. The 1 year post-implementation review, the colour wasn't quite right and you couldn't quite see anything, so we've changed that, but you can see now 5 of those boxes are illuminated, which means from September we're going to have a really busy back end of the year because we've got to start looking at on-year reviews. If you remember, we've been doing this a little while now, and when they come on stream it's going to really hit us in terms of our workload. But that's what we agreed to. And the other notable item is the the 6th column, which is labelled performance target mapping. And if you go down to project 15, 16 and 17, you can actually see what we've done there is we've mapped on the specific corporate plan identity on that particular project. So we're able to say, particularly when it comes to reporting time, we are looking specifically at areas of underperformance, or where we have performance concerns, or where there might be the future for the corporate plan. Hopefully that's all very logical to everybody, and our objective is to get all of these boxes green. Okay, so you can see it's also updated for any new projects. Does anybody have any questions? I hope it's pretty self-explanatory, particularly to establishment. Sorry, Councillor Robertson?
I was just going to say, it's so small I can't read it.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment on the reason it's small. I mean, it's just it's just a lot to get on one piece of paper, really, unless you go to a bigger size. You could do, yeah, you could do.
Well, half of it anyway.
You could do. Well, you could probably even argue if the printer was bigger, you could even use a bigger printer.
But you could split it between those that are sort of generally finished,
yes,
and those that are.
Well, that's a good point actually, because what we do, as you know, is we roll those off once they've gone green. Although actually this year we can roll one off of them. You're right, actually, yeah. There's got to be more we can do with it, but if you can focus. But I'm happy with my eyes to answer any questions.
I'd like to do a touch panel on the size of the printer.
Yeah. We've done a panel bit like that before. Right, so I'm going to take it as other than, I do agree it is a bit small, but see if we can get it all on. Next one is number 7, implementation activity, and this actually is where we hand over to Tony to put this on this. And then these will appear on the next rolling work programme. In fact, some of them might already appear on here actually, Tony, aren't they?
Yes.
Councillor Frenchman's one is already on there, isn't it? Number 7. Yeah, that's already on there.
Number 7 is the one where we've got the action plan for us, we've already discussed.
Yep, that's already updated.
That now is all green, and I think it's already captured on.
It is actually, yeah, and that's due for review in December 2016. So, Councillor Frenchman, if nothing happens, that's your opportunity.
And the report that Councillor Frenchman presented this evening, which is assignment 10.
Yes.
We have agreed, or you have, as a committee, have agreed 4 recommendations this evening.
That's correct, yeah. 4 recommendations will go forward to the senior management team from Melbourne. That's all there is actually, Tony, isn't it? Yeah, because we had quite a light patch because we've got some, well, obviously Councillor Cribbins down, etc. And yours is quite a big project. But my ambition is for us to be able to get some income for every meeting. So, Councillor Wesley, yours is next. Okay.
And Chairman is number 17 is Councillor Randall's task panel. And I believe you just agreed the scoping document.
Yes, we have. Thank you very much. That one's going to start lighting up. It says scope agreed. Very good. Thank you, Tony. The next agenda item is number 8. No, the last...
Sorry, checkers.
Sorry, yes.
What, on this, why is there just a green one?
A random green box? Yeah, it's because if you look at the column it relates to, it's date added to rolling work programme.
Oh, right.
Now, what we intended to do for a while ago, and we said we're doing new ones, once they get actually added onto the programme, then we put a date on. So what DDC could do to improve business rates commercial. Remember, if Councillor can put it forward, we said we'd formally add it to the rolling work programme, and to guide us we decided to put a date on. That's why it's green, so it's officially added to the work programme on that date.
Oh, right.
And if you remember, normally we'll often have discussion about adding new items to the rolling work programme. This evening, I think because of where we are in the cycle, I think we'll skip that for this particular meeting. You've obviously just finished one. Councillor Weir's got to come back, Randall and Cribbins got to come back. So at the next meeting, we'll discuss if there's any good to move.
There's another one there, Chair, as well, isn't there? The one just below number 17.
Yes.
With the date on, and that's one that I'm going to be chairing in 16-17 cycle.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Assuming you're.
If I'm here.
If you're here. Yeah. Okay. This is a non-political meeting, so from a scrutiny chairman perspective, I hope you're here. It's certainly more.
That's nearly died.
It's certainly quite good fun with you being here on scrutiny. I mean, genuinely, I would miss your scrutiny if you weren't here. Okay, so what we'll do is unless, of course, Councillor Frenchman, you're the only one with any spare capacity. If there's anything you'd like to take on, please do. But I accept you've just obviously done a really big piece of work and brought that one back for now. So I'm happy to allocate it to the next meeting.
Yes. I was quite interested in the business rate as well.
Well, if you want to, you can take it on and bring the scope back. The scope doesn't back.
That's put it on the way first.
No? Okay, we'll keep it interesting for now.
Yes.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll make a little note while you're
Mine never to say.
We haven't quite finished. So it's the business rates. The one it's not given a number until it comes into the cycle. So I'll put the other ones. I'll put next to it Councillor Frenchman interested.
If you tell her we get on, we can do it together.
Well,
she's happy.
Yeah. Okay. Final item, well almost, is to agree a portfolio order to attend the 7th of June. And also confirm Councillor Howard is attending the 5th of February. Well, actually, since Councillor Howard is here, we'll do it now.
You've got the extension colour.
Is that
I'm awake. So you're still here, so that's good. So Councillor Howard, are you happy to come along on the 5th of April?
I will definitely confirm my date, but yes, I think I am, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so we're expecting you on the 5th of April, and basically, you saw what we did with Councillor James.
Yes.
We will ask any question we like, but obviously certain times the officers might have to say, look, you can't answer that for obvious reasons. I'm not expecting that with yours so much actually, but again, the brief is really to talk about your role, talk about how it's driving the agenda, to focus on your corporate objectives, and then be available for questions from the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, happy with that?
Yeah, of course.
Very good. Thank you. So we'll look forward to having you along. And the next item linked to that is the 7th of June. We'd like to give people a little bit of notice. Does anybody have any burning desire to have a portfolio order in for a particular topic we'd like to cover? We could always hold this off to the next meeting or decide today.
See what comes on. See what comes along.
Can I suggest that one, and I don't know if it's relevant, but at one meeting we have the leader and we can discuss strategies and direction and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Just an overview of where the council's going.
Yeah. I will, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will,
If that's relevant, I don't know if it's relevant, it would be interesting.
I don't know, well I can certainly ask him. I'll have an action to ask him. Let's keep that date vacant at the moment then, but it could be a possibility to invite Councillor Miller for a strategic
Chair,
well, I don't know if that's typical or not to do that, but we can always ask. Yeah.
do we normally have a substitute?
Yes, we do, but I'm hoping that since we have Councillor Howard here and he's saying he's coming, that he'll come.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough.
No pressure. The committee's wanted to get you along for a few meetings actually, but
I am aware of it. It's really not our business, just makes it a little bit difficult.
Of course,
That means
yeah.
I tell you, but yes, I am aware of it. We spoke on our last management meeting.
yeah, good. Well, let's hold you to that date. We can have a substitute if we want, but unless anyone's got any burning ideas for the next meeting, because I think with a lot of these being on, I think at the next meeting we'll have a better idea because we'll have the final year turnout. No, we won't actually. The next one will be the one after. But we'd have had Councillor out by then. So the June meeting, we'll see if there's any red from this year, and we can focus on those ones.
There may, sorry, Chair, I just may say there may be some changes anyway, because that'll be a political reason.
Of course. Yeah. So it may well be we don't know who's going to be in the role in June anyway. So we'll. It's always that because of the way we elect people. It's always the grey time as the year, isn't it? Moving into April. Okay. Well, in that case, then we've got Councillor Howard confirmed for the 5th of April. Thank you very much. We're not going to choose a substitute because he's coming, and I've got a.
No pressure there.
I will take it away separately to just understand the protocol around the leaders, because normally it's portfolio holders, but we'd still need to understand the main areas of involvement. Okay. That's it, I think, that all I've got. We're on to item 9, urgent business.
Can I just give my apologies for the next meeting? This is my wife's birthday.
Just as well you won't be presenting back at the next one then. So,
And she's already told me that it's half term as well, so she's already told me to take you around.
fair enough.
She must be a baby.
Okay. It's now 9:35. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Councillor Robertson, nice to see you here. Please come again. You had a brilliant input there with that one word. Councillor James, thank you. Councillor Howard, look forward to seeing you for the next one. Meeting closed.